What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another game of 40K. This one, woo, this is a good one. This is going to be a sick game. This is the semifinals of Pod 8. I didn't have this one scheduled. The players actually had to reschedule their game, and so we just, this is what we ended up with. So they actually let me know right after my semifinals game in Pod 7 that they were just getting started, so I decided to jump in and get another game of 40K going. Chat room, how's it going? At Valdor, nothing better to end the day than watching 40K, and we just watched Space Wolves versus Tyranids in my semifinals game. What a cracker of a game that was. I straight up thought I was going to lose on turn 2, and then, oh boy, did my dice turn around for me a little bit and blew some stuff up. And now we're going to watch Space Wolves again take on some Mixed Imperium. This is Maverick 25, also known as Apostle of Ruin, also known as Dan Paolini, who is right now right near the top of the ITC rankings. Has won a whole bunch of smaller size events right now, but you know, with the sort of crazy world that the ITC standings are in, he's right up near the top. And with this list, I think he's gonna stay up there. I'm gonna make the call. I think that he's going to be a contender for ITC finals placement for the 2020 season. This list is sick, and we'll talk about it right here in a sec. Ad Valdor, these are some spicy lists. Meat Puppet, what's up, man? How's it going? Thanks, everybody in the chat, for joining. And, yeah, we're going to have a sick game of 40K. We also have in the red here, so Maverick 25 in the blue with some spicy Mixed Imperium. Perrin A39, also known as Jeff Poole, a top 8 from LVO in January 2020, coming in here hard with some mixed Astartes, with bringing in a whole boatload of Space Wolves. So let's talk about these lists real quick. The players have just finished deploying, and we're doing Master of Ambush. We're masterfully ambushing some aggressors all up in Jeff Poole's face here. Let's see if this how much damage this is going to do. This might be a little rough for the Space Wolves, but those impulsors will keep them relatively safe. And I think he's just we're gonna hope he can make some good interventions and clean out these aggressors pretty quickly. I think is going to be the plan. But the aggressors could get in, do some punching, blow some dudes up, which could be problematic. But we'll see how it goes. So, bringing up the lists real quick here. Apostle of Ruin, also known as Maverick 25, is bringing in, like I said, Mixed Imperium detachment, 3 separate Imperial sub-factions. His first one is a Styges battalion of Adeptus Mechanicus, along with bringing 2 Tech Priest Engineers as well as 3 units of Rangers with Galvanic Rifles. Just the good old Rusty 17 to get 5 CP and open up some slots for Scorpius Disintegrators with Belarus Energy Cannons. So we can see we have 2 Disintegrators on the table here and here, ready to get some damage down. So that is a pretty good detachment, really opens up those CP and gives you some solid indirect fire. Some of the best indirect fire in the Imperium outside of Thunderfire Cannons, in my opinion. Outside of Thunderfire Cannons or the big, heavy, expensive Imperial Guard stuff, but the Belarus they're pretty cost effective. 111 points. They give you a bunch of heavy stuffers. They give you a rocket launcher. They're just solid to have, and it's good to have that -1 AP and a flat 2 damage on your indirect. We have a second battalion detachment in this list. That is an Astra Militarum with a custom regiment, bringing in gunnery experts and spotter details. I know the spotter details gives a plus 6 inches of range to all of his guns. The gunnery experts, I will have to look up one more time because I don't have all these memorized yet, unfortunately. Gunnery experts is reroll the dice for your number of shots. So we're getting a little bit of Catachan in there, but you also get the plus 6 inches of range, which is obviously great for Leman Russ, which want to stand still and or move slowly anyway to get their grinding advance. So they don't quite have the long threat ranges, but getting that extra 6 inches, 78 inches on their battle cannon, 54 on their side guns, on their las cannons anyway, and then a 42 on their plasma cannon. pretty solid. Lets them really hang out for a bit. We also have a Demolisher Siege Cannon on one of these guys. I think it's this dude in the bottom here. It sure looks like he has a Demolisher. Yeah, there he is. And that plus 6 inches of range is going to be pretty solid on that thing. It puts it up to 30, which is pretty reasonable. 24 is usually pretty anemic, but a 30 inches is going to be pretty good. As well as 3 42-inch range guns on its sponsons. Looks like I don't believe that we have any tank ace abilities used here, but that detachment is a Emperor's Fist tank company, so I imagine that this guy's going to have the Hammer of Sunderance, but we don't have it noted down. Do we have it noted anywhere? Nope. But usually that's why you'll bring that in for the move full and then still count as grinding advancing stratagem, but you also usually bring it in with the for the Hammer of Sunderance to get that flat 3 damage battle cannon going. We also have 3 infantry squads in that detachment just to fill out the troops, and 2 Astartes to buff these tanks up with some psychic powers. The real spicy bit of this list is this one that's about to charge into the Space Wolf's army. It is a Raptors, or Raven Guard successor. I guess it doesn't have to be Raptors. It doesn't have anything particularly Raptorish about it, but a Raven Guard successor, Adeptus Astartes detachment, bringing in a captain and a chaplain, both with jump packs. The captain is a standard Smash Captain, Storm Shield, Thunderhammer. The chaplain is bringing in just a Stormbolter, but has been upgraded to be a Master of Sanctity to get the reroll, or the additional litany, and probably rerolls on his litanies as well. Looks like he has used a Canticle of Hate, so that's pretty strong. But that's also bringing in 2 intercessor squads, just with bolt rifles to fill out that battalion. So we're coming in with the full 18 CP, as well as a unit of 5 scouts to round that out and add some additional pre-deployment. Obviously, for those who don't know, who have been living under a bit of a rock here, the benefit of bringing in this Raven Guard successors list is that you get access to the Master of Ambush Warlord trait. That is probably on this captain, I would imagine. It might actually be on the chaplain, but I don't know. That will allow 1 non-Centurion, non-Terminator unit to pre-deploy, to forward deploy as if it had the concealed positions rule, just like scouts do, as well as the Warlord. So what you do is you bring in a unit of aggressors. They're sort of Centurion light, and they're able to deploy 9 inches outside of your opponent's deployment zone, and then you can potentially use a pre-game movement on both them and a unit of Centurions to move them right up the table, as we've seen here. Maverick 25 has used a pre-game move to advance them up the table, and then is using a second move, his actual turn 1 move to advance them again, and then I believe is going to end up using the Raven Guard ability to count their weapons, to advance and fire their bolt weapons. So that's bringing in a Centurion Assault Squad. It's delivering a Centurion Assault Squad, I should say. You also have the the option to deep strike this squad, and but a lot of times you won't do that if you're going first, because you really want to force these guys right down your opponent's throat as much as possible, and really use these Raven Guard units to alpha strike your opponent and keep them back in their deployment zone. Usually, in order to mitigate the damage of this combo, you have to deploy far back so that they can't deploy within 9 inches of you, and then they can't get a reasonable move forward and then charge. But that gives up a ton of table space. That just opens up an even greater amount of distance between the guns and your and the opponent's army, so that your tank commanders and your Belarus energy cannons are going to be able to do even more damage. You know, there's 4 huge threatening tanks backing up this list, and even though these guys will probably die every game, I would imagine. I don't know if Maverick 25 has a game where those guys all don't immediately get blasted off the table. They usually will do enough work that just in pushing your opponent way far back that it's totally worth the expenditure. Looks like I think we've also seen a pregame move used on the Smash Captain here, so he's going to be able to get in, and we're going to see with the Canticle, the Canticle of Hate for plus 2 inches to charge, we might see all 4 of these units get into melee this turn. and really hammer into these impulsors. That said, they are impulsors, so it's not the end of the world for Perrin A39, but he is going to have to, foot slog a bunch of his intercessors and have to fight back with his characters, which is always a little awkward when you're running into 18 CP, because the opportunities to fight twice and to interrupt into your characters is always going to be there for these really powerful Raven Guard follow-ups. There's also a Thunderfire Cannon in this Raven Guard detachment, which is hiding in the back here. Pretty solid. Like I said, probably the best indirect fire in the game is that Thunderfire Cannon. So you might as well, if you have 100 points to burn on it, might as well bring one in just to knock some forward deploying units out. But this Imperial list is absolutely terrifying. Absolutely scares the crap out of me. Usually the Raven Guard list, if you go all into the Raptors combo with the Centurion drop and the aggressors and everything, it can hit some hard matchups, and some good screening and good play can beat it out, because you're basically only coming in with these 27-inch range guns, and if your opponent can screen you out well and knows the tricks that you can use to beat them, a lot of times you can push them on scenario. And so Maverick has very cleverly played around that by bringing in a bunch of other options in his list. So he has this potential turn one alpha strike, which is potentially devastating. But he's rounding out his list by bringing out additional guns. And the two parts of the army work synergistically with each other. Like I said, you have to screen very conservatively. You have to play a conservative game to stop this huge Raven Guard ball from blowing you up. And if you do that, it's just going to open up space for the guns. I talk about this a lot, especially with my lists. I like to bring balanced lists that have a very hard-hitting, fast, aggressive element, and also some powerful guns. And the reason for that is if you can threaten your opponent with that fast, hard-hitting part of your army, you'll force them into playing into whatever your guns want to do. Usually your opponent's going to deploy in this corner. They're going to hide from these terrifying units, and they're just going to get hit with this Thunderfire Cannon. They're going to get hit with these Scorpius Disintegrators, and you're going to give the tank commanders free reign to get anywhere on the table that they want to be in order to get their optimal lines of sight. I think this list is brilliant. I think it uses the Imperium soup sub-factions very well. It's kind of banal in that it's a Rusty 17, it's a Loyal 32, and it's a bunch of good stuff. It's basically just Imperium good stuff. But I think all told, it's not a combo that we've seen. It's not a combination of detachments that we've seen very often. And I think competitively, it is a really smart list. Moving over to Jeff Poole, aka Perrin A39 here. He's bringing a mixed Astartes list. So another soup list, but this one a little bit less on the mixed Astartes train, and more mostly it's almost just pure Space Wolves, honestly. Let's be real about this. It's a very simple list. It's 2 Space Wolf battalions as well as an Imperial Fist Spearhead. Obviously, you'll lose the super doctrines because not the entire list isn't made out of one chapter, but you will gain. You will retain your combat doctrines because it is all Adeptus Astartes. We should keep in mind that Maverick 25 does not get access to combat doctrines because he's bringing in these Astra Militarum and these Adeptus Mechanicus detachments. So one of the powerful things that Centurions do is they can hit you on turn 2 with 72, or in this case 60, Strength 4 -1 AP shots, and in this case they cannot do that. So they will have no access to AP on those guys for now. Obviously, the Adeptus Astartes list will, and it's just hardcore aggression. It's sort of building. It's kind of working on the same premise that the Raven Guard list is. It doesn't alpha strike you quite as hard, but it sets up for a sort of turn 2 charge across the board, where if it goes first, it can dump 3 repulsors, potentially, or 5 repulsors, impulsors. Wow. Okay. Impulsors, Jesus. Potentially 20 inches up the table. Then the next turn, you can dump intercessors out and potentially characters out 3 inches and then advance in charge or move in charge. So it sets up for a turn 2 sort of beta strike as well. And the entire list is extremely resilient because all of those impulsors come stocked with shield domes, not shield drones. That would make them even harder to kill. Shield domes, so that they have a 4+ invulnerable save. So in this case, Perrin is hoping that his opponent is going to get into these impulsors and bounce right off because of that invulnerable save. He's kind of counting on that, honestly. And the -2 to charge, the impulsors may help him as well, although I think we do have a Canticle of Hate off from the chaplain up in the center. There he is. So all of these units will get +2 to their charge, so they will ignore the counteract the impulsors -2, innate -2. But to fill those impulsors, we have 3 units of intercessors with thunder hammers. Whoa! It has been a long day, ladies and gentlemen. 3 units of 5 intercessors with thunder hammers to go into the impulsors. Pretty hard hitting, and especially when they explode on 6s, they won't explode on 6s, especially with the +1 to hit from the Space Wolves Doctrine that counteracts the -1 to hit from the thunder hammer. Not something that people think of a lot. Usually you'll see a Space Wolf's thunder hammer, and kind of you're expecting thunder hammers to hit on 4s because normally they do, but you have to remember that Space Wolves get that +1, and that can really throw you off sometimes if you're expecting only 50% of those attacks to convert, and suddenly they hit you a lot harder. We also have in the first attachment we have the 3 impulsors. We have Murder Fang, as well as a Wolf Lord Smash Captain, or Smash Wolf Lord, I guess, with a Thunderhammer Storm Shield, and Jump Pack, as well as a Wolf Priest with a Jump Pack as well. Wolf Priest probably in there for the Canticle of Hate, +2 to charges. Really interesting how the role of Chaplain models, this is a bit of an aside, has changed as Adeptus Astartes lists become more optimized, because at the start, when the book was first released, Recitation of Focus and Canticle of Hate were absolutely were the things people were most worried about. +1 to wound on effectively anything, as well as a +1 to hit anywhere you need it with shooting attacks has been really strong. But Canticle of Hate is sort of superseding those as we move towards these smashier melee-heavy versions of Astartes list, which I think is really interesting. It's a bit of an interesting case study. In the second battalion, we have another 2 impulsors, so we're up to 5 now. 2 units of intercessors with thunder hammers, as well as a unit of incursors with haywire mines. I wonder if those incursors are hiding in one of the ruins here. He doesn't have enough transports to hide all of them. I don't know where the incursors. He might be outflanking them, actually, with the Space Wolves outflank. Nope. Where are they? Are they in the back? Nope. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that Perrin is outflanking those incursors. I have no idea where they would be. Are they in the L? No, they would be dead. Oh, here they are. We found them. It's like freaking Blue's Clues over here. There they are. The incursors. This is a pretty solid placement for them, but I think the tank commander did shuffle over to get a beat on them. He might shoot them all off the table immediately. A little unfortunate for those poor incursors, but we might see them survive. I do like incursors, especially Space Wolves incursors. They do naturally explode on 6s with their attack, so if you do place pure Space Wolves with their Super Doctrine, they explode twice on 6s with their paired combat blades. And just being the forward deploying sort of melee specialists of the Primaris lineup, I think they're a pretty good include. Not to mention that they just have bolters that ignore cover, which is always nice to have. Speaking of ignoring cover, the last attachment in this Astartes list is an Imperial Fist Spearhead, bringing none other than 3 Thunderfire cannons. Pretty straightforward. Imperial Fist allow them to ignore cover, which means usually Thunderfires almost always give their targets cover, especially if they're shooting at vehicles and the vehicles are touching any sort of ruin. They'll benefit from cover almost all the time because the Thunderfires they'll be mostly obscured from the Thunderfires. We also have a captain in here. I imagine that guy's going to bring the Eye of Hypnoth to give these guys reroll 1s to wound, as well as use his innate reroll 1s to hit to make these guys very, very consistent with their shooting. We could also see him become the Hand of Dorn to get D3 CP, which is basically a no-brainer. So I imagine we saw that happen pre-game, but unfortunately the players have not written down their warlord traits. Looks like we have a little bit. Wolflord has Mastercrafted Thunderhammer. Can you Mastercraft Wolflord's Thunderhammers? I had no idea. We also have Ragnar Blackmane and a Primaris Wolfguard Battle Leader with a Power Axe. In here, there is the Battle Leader with the Armor of Russ, and we have Ragnar Blackmane just to be an immense beatstick. Not surprising that we're seeing Ragnar Blackmane show up in every single list forever, because that guy's so sick. He is super strong, 120 points. What a steal. Gives you reroll once to hit if you need him, gives you reroll charges if you're not a vehicle, and hits 10 times when he charges. Potentially, or pretty reasonably, 16 attacks when he gets touched of the wild. I don't have CPs on the overlay this time because I did show up late, so I didn't get the chance to set it up as much as I would like. But we do have 11 CPs for Perrin and 7 CPs for Maverick. He spent 11 already. I guess he did pre-game move his entire Raven Guard detachment. So that is not actually that surprising. So, super cool list from these two players. I'm very excited about this Space Wolves list. I hope that it can withstand the amount of pain that this Centurion brick is about to inflict upon it. But those impulsors are hard to kill. And when you're only hitting it with power fists, half of which are going to bounce off the shield dome, and the other half are not going to do too much damage because of the D3s. You could see some pretty good survivability from these vehicles here. I wonder, we also could see some interesting plays because these models have to go within 6 inches of these characters. I almost tried to ping, but I unfortunately am in spectator mode and can't do that. Because these guys have to go within 6 inches of the characters, the way Perrin has placed them, in order to get into the impulsors at all, you will have to trigger their 6-inch heroic intervention from being Space Wolves. They are physically body blocked by the impulsors for the most part to move through. You might be able to fit one dude through here, but in that case, they could be charged. But you can use the Space Wolf stratagem, the counter charge stratagem, if your impulsor bases don't get touched, to move them with a heroic intervention. So, for example, if this Wolf Lord comes in here, doesn't base both these, we could see this one intervene. Perrin triggers that intervention first. It moves 6 inches around the corner to base the captain. Then Murderfang comes in to totally mess him up. We could see some plays like that. It'll be interesting. I think Maverick is probably smart enough to play around that, but we will see. It is hard to play around all of the intervention shenanigans that Space Wolves can do because their entire army does it. So, good luck with that. Once you get stuck in with Space Wolves, that's where they want to be. They sometimes have a tough time getting there, but once they're in melee, it can go real bad for you real quick if they can play the intervention game better than you can. Super scary. Honestly, it's always terrifying being in melee with the Space Wolves army. So those are the lists today, and we'll see how the players are going. I'm going to throw it back to their mics real quick. Darren Kelly, how are they moving 15 inches? Not sure what we are discussing. Are we talking about these guys up here? So I believe that Maverick has used a pre-game deployment. So we did see one get taken out with shooting. Maverick has used the pre-game move that Raven Guard can do to move all 3 of these units up the table. He forward deployed the aggressors and the chaplain, I believe. Here he is. He forward deployed them and then pre-game moved all 3 of these units. So they were able to advance, and then they were able to move again and get right up the table. At Valdor might be hard for the Centurions, but we do have Cancel of Hate to make that charge, because the impulsors are -2. But we do have Cancel of Hate up to counteract that, and that looks to me like maybe a 5-inch charge, or a 6 maybe on a bad day. At Valdor, we won't see this in 9th. Yeah, I think this is a decidedly 8th edition matchup. 2 soup armies. 9th edition, so far, not all of the rules have been spoiled, but we have seen some spoilers that say that these sorts of armies will cost an enormous number of CP in order to build. Yeah, there's one impulsor off the table already. An enormous number of CP in order to build this kind of level of soup army into it. We also have said that there's no troops requirements in the army, though. So on the other hand, we could see this whole requirement of bringing all these models totally axed, and we focus on the hardcore hit punchy dudes, which I would be unfortunate. I do like troops. I like seeing troops on the table, and I do like that there is a tax on the big units. But we'll have to wait till we see the final rules. Advelder Ragnar Blackmane's everywhere. I know he is. He's in every list that has a specialist attachment should probably have Ragnar Blackmane in it. He is really good. Oh, Advelder, yeah, we might be in centimeter measurements. I don't know why that happens, but it seems like every time I spectate a game, it changes my measurements to centimeters. I'm gonna have to dig into that. I did forget about it, but it has happened. It has been happening all last week. So I think we are measuring in centimeters right now, which is annoying. I'm gonna shoot it back to the player mics here for a sec, and we'll get a look at what they are doing currently.
You do not get cover from the Centurions.
Oh, because of the omnispecs or whatever
Yep.
it's called. Yeah. All the rules for Centurions. So I
that's
will lose
2.5 dead.
2.5. Yeah. Cool.
Let's see what else. We are going to put the intercessors. They're going to put their shots in.
Oh, they advanced.
Yes, sir. They have auto rifles.
Oh, they have auto rifles. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Nice.
Should.
I just assumed they had the regular thing.
So these are hitting on 4s because they advanced, rerolling 1s for the captain. Cool. And these are winning on 4s. So 3 saves, 1 at a time because 1's out of cover.
Would you mind if I had taken the guy who was out of cover first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
That's fine.
This guy will have 1 win left. Sorry, I forgot he was out of cover.
And they get flipped over. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So 2 ups.
So that's a bit of an interesting interaction for the people in the chat room who just missed that. Perrin had 1 intercessor that's out of cover. The way cover rules work is that your entire unit has to be touching the area of a ruin in this case in order to benefit from cover. However, because you, as the defending player against an attack, you allocate wounds to your models independently, and the way the rules are, or the sequence is written, you will take those saves 1 at a time. So while you take your saves, you can allocate them to the models who are out of cover, and once they die, other saves that you take will be in cover. In this case, it didn't really matter that much because the Centurions ignored cover because of their ability, but it may have been a bit of a misallocation of attacks there from Maverick. He could have fired the intercessors into these guys first to force Perrin to pull that model who was out of cover. Then, once the unit's back in cover, the Centurions fire at them to ignore their cover and really blast the unit down. A little interesting thing to keep in mind in the future, if you do have units that are half in and half out of cover, you can take cover saves, so sort of part way through your armor save taking step. And that's something that not a lot of people do. They just fast dice all their armor saves, and they don't get quite the same level of, or the sort of the optimized amount of saving.
Damage. D3. 3 damage.
Cool.
And 9 steppers. That's not. It can't be 9. It can't be. Yeah. 3s. 5 7. 4 saves on your armor. 1. All right. This guy is going into throwing everything into them.
Who is there?
The next corpus is throwing everything into the incursors.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I'll start with the D6. 6 shots.
Nice.
3s. 1s. Winning on 3s. So hey, 2 saves, 3 up.
Wow.
Awesome. Then 3d3. No, 4 up.
Oh,
That
so
was
nice.
AB2, yeah. Good lord.
Cool. And how much damage?
That's T3. 3 damage. 3d3. Gonna be 6 shots. This is going to be on 3-ups. Running on 3s. 3 saves, AP1.
Why is it rolling multiple dice, dude? It's the second time I picked up a dice.
You keep grabbing it when you, because I'm pulling them out of the. Yeah. You're good. You're pulling the dice as I'm pulling them off the extra off.
Yeah. I'll wait till you remove them next time. Sorry.
9. Let's go in. Stabbers. Force to wound. So 3 saves. 2 up. So take 1.
To wow. Okay.
Thunderfire Cannon is going to go into them.
Sure.
Eight shots. 9 shots. 1, 3. Yeah. 9. 2s. Putting on 4s. They are half movement and all that jazz. So 2 saves, AP2. Or AP1, sorry, AP1.
It's Devastator, right?
But I don't have doctrines.
Oh, cool. So I live.
You have half movement, half. Yes. Okay. Captain's going to chuck a crack grenade into the intercessors. He did not.
Oh, that's right.
He only moved 10 inches, actually. He needs to reroll 1, though, because of him, and then 3 wound. 1 save, AP1. Good. Wow. Chaplain's going to do the same. Wounds. Saw you roll the 1. All right. Then the aggressors are going to put all their shots into them.
Sure.
So 66 plus 36. Sorry, no. We're going to put the D6 into them and 36 here.
Sure.
So we'll start with the guys. So
big aggressor hit coming in here. We did see the Incursor's Tremor Shelled, which should be annoying. I would like to get a charge through on these guys, but they could potentially do it. It's probably a long charge, probably a 9-incher maybe.
And moving on 4s. That many saves, so 2 ups. Like a madman.
Like a boss.
36 shots in the impulsor. That's a very square roll, actually. And moving on 5s. 8 armor saves.
Huh.
3 more.
Boom.
And 4
So 1 impulsor is dead, and another one has taken 7 so far. And I think more importantly, Perrin has opened up a pretty solid charge into these characters. I wonder if Maverick has opened a charge into the characters. I wonder if Perrin wanted to, if he was able to do this deployment again,
sure.
Deploy the characters and this last impulsor maybe 1 or 2 inches farther back. That way, when the front impulsor dies, its 5 intercessors can pile out in front of them to create a second level of protection. At that point, you can still use the heroic intervention ability that I spoke about earlier, so that if this entire intercessor unit isn't based or blocked off in their movement, they can move around with the intervention and open holes for the characters to come in. So basically, at that point, the intercessors would be here if they survived. Any charges into them would probably hit them and not be able to go much far forward. Then, if they're not based, you can intervene and get the characters through to fight.
All right.
And Tremor Shells is 1 or 2?
1 command point.
You spent 2 on your tank commander, right?
The double shoot or the max shot.
So what do you think, Chad? Is this obviously
other
the
tank
Raven
commander
Guard
is
Alpha Strike is immense.
Sure.
Is it going to be too much for the Space Wolves to fight through,
He did
or do you
move
think that they'll be
forward,
able to
so
come back and
he gets the fire once.
take him out? It does seem to me like if
And he just has one less.
you can fight through this unit, this
Or
whole
the one
group
shot.
here,
Yeah,
and
I
the Space
will
Wolves
reroll
characters
that,
do
though.
line
I
up
was gonna
pretty
say,
well with the.
Yeah. So these are hitting.
They do line up pretty well with the stat lines of Centurions and Aggressors. If they're able to kill all these in a turn or two, the Impulsors can move forward and start tagging the guns to stop them from shooting. And if you do that, I mean, there's not much punch left in this list. It's mostly you have to cripple your opponent with the Raptors, or use those as a counter punch, and then hammer them with the guns. But as soon as the Raptors go down, if they go down too fast, you could fall apart really quickly, and you're just trying to fight for primaries at that point.
That's like 5, yeah.
At Valdor, I feel like both of these lists get a big bump from going first. I agree. Although I've actually, Apostle of Ruin or Maverick25 and I have actually been talking outside. He's a member of the Patreon page, and so we've been talking strategy pretty hardcore. And he says he actually has a slightly higher win rate going second, but he doesn't score as often as many points. I think that's because this list alpha strikes so hard that if your alpha strike flubs and falls short, and you lose all those units, like I said before, it can really, really be hard to come back. You basically only have guardsmen besides your big guns. It's just the guardsmen. You have a couple intercessors, and that's it. There's no heavy hitters besides the tank commanders. But obviously, you can cripple your opponent and get 42s really easily, I think, at that point as well, which is good if you're playing in a long tournament, too, especially when it doesn't go to a single undefeated. Playing a list that can get those 42s pretty easily is actually kind of a big part of the meta strategy. But that said, if he's going second, he plays a much more consistent game because, again, all these models are infantry. They could just hide in an L. And hang out for a while, and he could play a longer game. But he says he usually scores 25, 30 points if he goes second, but he gets in the 40 range pretty often going first. Pretty interesting discussion. I think a pretty interesting metric. Zach Thorne says he doesn't like the Space Wolf odds. I think I tend to agree, but I think Perrin is hoping here that he's going to be able to get a couple good invulnerable saves. If you get the Smash Captain to bounce off an invulnerable save here, could be bad. At that point, you have impulsors to soak up this Overwatch and to engage these guys in melee, and your characters just start picking apart individual parts of this Raven Guard brick and trying to kill them. And then, like I said, if you have impulsors left at the end of that, impulsors can run out, tag the tanks, jump characters off, start killing these guys, and I think the game can go really south really quickly. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, this top of one is sort of going to decide the game. Pretty unfortunate, I think, that's sort of how it works out, but that's where we're at with the matchup.
Outside of 6. So yeah. And does Ragnar have a fancy gun or anything?
No.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, charging all the impulsors that are within 12 that I can get my hands on.
Sure. I think that's everything in my army.
Yeah.
I guess I'll shoot Overwatch.
Should be 4 storm
4
bolters.
impulsors. Well, they're 2 each in the
yeah,
rapid range. So
yeah,
it's 8 shots per, so that's 24.
Yeah.
No, 32, right?
Yeah. Then 2 more.
Well, 32, right?
Yeah, actually 2 more. Oh, 36. Yeah, I'm stupid. Again. Yeah.
Okay. So hitting
6s.
ones.
It's a lot of 1s.
My vision is all messed up and cockeyed.
You're good.
Come on. Lag, motherfucker. Cool.
So 4 6s and 5s to wound.
T5, right? Yeah.
You say. Good conversion rate. 3s. Take 1.
Cool. Go nuts.
But these guys should have at least bolt pistols and stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't even bother with that.
Okay. All right, roll for distance then. 11 inches or 9 inches
9,
total. They're flat 3 damage on Mr. Murderfang.
Yeah.
The fuck is the chaplain?
He's right here.
Help if I actually. Cool.
You're basing me?
Yes.
You just say it. It's all good.
The intention is to leave room.
At Valdor, I understand why it's the case, but I do feel games are often pretty front loaded into turn 0 and 1, and by turn 2 it's mostly over a lot of the time. It would be nice to see more depth. At Valdor, I do agree. I do agree that can happen, and it depends on the matchup. And that's something that I'm hoping that we can start to alleviate a little bit with terrain in the future, to give the player going second a little bit more control, because sometimes you get into situations like this where you just get backed into a corner and there's not really much you can do about it. And I think some more interesting terrain setups might make that a little bit less impactful. So, but I do agree with you, and but I will caveat that I do think it depends a lot on the matchup, and especially I think Raptors, or at least Raven Guard, are, excuse me, ooh, gross, are an exemplar of that. I think probably to too great a degree, I would imagine. I think I don't like I don't like the design of the Raven Guard faction being such a dominating Alpha Strike in this way. I like the fact that they have sort of deep strike shenanigans and they do things like that, but the level of threat range, all these immense pregame moves and things that they do, I think it makes the game too lopsided. Otherwise, I actually think it's probably fairly balanced between going first and going second, and it becomes down, to the particular factions, the players that the list that they're playing, so I don't think 100% of the time that it's
battle leader.
That it is it's decided turn 1, but I do think that this Raptors list makes it look like that. The Space Wolves list I think probably does benefit a lot going first because it can take so much of the table. But that said, it basically gives you the first turn to deal with it, right? To set up against it. The Raptors list, you have to be deployed set up against it, and it has so much flexibility that it can do its thing from any angle. The aggressors, I don't know if I was streaming at this point. I might have been streaming before they used their pre-game redeployment. The aggressors were placed here and could deploy basically anywhere along this line right here, basically on anywhere on this side of that line. So it's almost impossible, and even if they deploy over here, then they get a 5 plus D6 inch advance before the game starts and gets over here. So it's impossible to entirely block them off. Whereas a list like the Space Wolves list, you can place against it after the first turn begins. So that's a long-winded way of sort of reiterating my point that I think this Raven Guard list is too heavily weighted, or the Raven Guard detachment in general is too heavily weighted on going first. I do think other lists don't tend to do that, and it's basically just this Raven Guard. Valdor, I feel like Raven Guard should be more shoot and fade type deal as opposed to all in YOLO. Yeah, I agree with you. Conceptually, it doesn't really make sense that they're like these these YOLO charge boys, They're just like, these big swole boys who just fly right up the table and blast you. It's pretty silly. It's very a Blood Angels thing, and it doesn't make sense conceptually because these guys want to be tactical and surgical, and they're just throwing Centurions at you until you're dead. Similar, it's almost like Deep Strike is too strong. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. The issue with this Raptors list is not Deep Strike; it's the pregame deployment. If Raptors could only ever Deep Strike, I think the faction would be fine. There's plenty of powerful Deep Strike units in the game that are really good, but usually they pay for it. You know, they require stratagems and CP and things like that. But they can't do their thing turn 1. Outside of specifically drop pods in one faction. And you usually don't see more than one of those for the most part. And when you do, I don't think it's that good. YOLO charges are for Space Wolves and Blood Angels Death Company. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is pretty silly. And I think this was I think Games Workshop in their head, this is probably a pretty common design thing for Games Workshop, is where they build a fluffy, and it's kind of an issue with top-down design. That is to say, design that is I lost my train of thought here. I apologize, everybody. The top-down design being design that is built around the sort of concept of the unit more than it is the mechanics of the game. And GW, when they love their top-down design, they usually design units before they design rules for them, which is extremely problematic because you run into situations like this, and you think about it, and you're like, oh, this will be cool. They can pregame move, so they can do things like put in cursors up the table, and then use their pregame move to get them to cover, and then sort of use them to their strategic genius to box their opponent in with their turn 1 moves. They'll take forward objectives, they'll plant mines, they'll do all this stuff, and then they could deep strike guys, so they could jump in with hell blasters or units of intercessors or things like this. But they don't consider the entirety of the faction when it comes to it, and they don't consider that the pregame move just adds a million inches of threat range to their units, and it disproportionately buffs slow, powerful units, which are definitely outside of the Raven Guard sort of fluff. But that's a rant for another day, I think. But I think at the end of the day, Samuel, I don't think Deep Strike is too strong. I think in some cases it might be too inexpensive, and we might need to see it increased a little bit. But not being able to Deep Strike in turn 2 in 99% of cases is just fine. And so I don't see an issue with it at all. It's the turn 1. This is top of turn 1 is where we're at right here. This is not possible with any Deep Strike faction in the game. Even if you dropped a bunch of drop pods down, they could not carry melee units of this caliber, and they could not guarantee this threat range that they have right now. So. Innes Wilson, top-down design works as long as you have enough play testing. Yeah, that's true. But, GW sometimes falls down on that part. It's hard to bottom-up design established factions with a lot of inherent baggage. Once you have an established faction, I think it's much easier because you can build into their mechanical themes a lot better. Definitely, I think doing sort of a top or a bottom-up design on a brand new faction, because you're starting from a completely blank slate, I think it ends up being a little bit harder. You usually want to sort of concept it out first and then build it mechanically. But if these guys if GW was gonna redesign the Raven Guard faction and build a bunch of top-down units, I think you'd see like Eliminators are a very Raven Guardy unit. The forward deploy snipers, of course. Of course, that fits into what they do. But if you were going to, but the issue being that you have to consider the other abilities that they have on the table. At Valdar, maybe when they redo them for 9th, they should only be able to redeploy units that fly or units that can forward deploy. Yeah. I think I don't hate that. I think the units with fly, I think you see a similar issue where it just becomes Vanguard veterans, right, instead of aggressors, where it's just 10 dudes with Thunderhammers instead of 6 dudes with Power Fists. In fairness, I guess that's already an issue. I think the forward deployment just in and of itself is problematic, and I think probably should be a mechanic that GW drops. Pre-game moves typically are okay because they're so restricted. but the forward deployment, being able to put concealed positions on any unit in the game or any unit in the faction, is pretty silly, and it opens the door for a lot of imbalance. At the end of the day, I don't think Raven Guard themselves are particularly imbalanced in that. I think they're too strong because they are very swingy. If they go first, things like this can happen, and if they go second, sometimes they just get pushed out of the table and lose. But I think they're too binary. I think that's poor design. I would like to see how they change them in 9th, though, and how they change the strategic reserve rules in general, because they have been dropping a ton of hints that reserves would change from the bottom up. 100% redesign of reserves, it seems like, is what they're trying to do, which I think is going to be awesome. Giving reserves to more units. Reserves make the game more interesting, and giving them to more more options to use them to more factions is just going to make the game super interesting.
That's a 4 steps.
Yeah. Oh. Would you mind just rolling the dice over here so I don't have to like pan back and forth every time?
Over on you? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. Go ahead and do it. I already panned over this time, so it's like fine.
Okay, all right. Sorry. So 3 ups.
Sure.
You're probably going to try to build a map base with a single dice roller in the future, because rolling on a single dice roller is typically a little bit more efficient.
Why
and
is
that makes it
he
easier for
at
coverage as
4?
well.
Did he take... He should not have taken any damage.
Sure.
At Valdor, also maybe if certain terrains
Do they
slow
have 4 or
infantry
5
movement.
wounds, or-
He had 5.
I would
he had
like
5
to
wounds to
see
start
that
with.
as well. I would
Uh,
like to see. I
For some
like
reason,
I don't think
it's 4 or 5.
the fact currently that ruins are the most maneuverable for infantry, or that infantry are the sort of the second most maneuverable outside fly, because it gives them a role on the table that's sort of thematic, and that makes sense. It makes sense thematically, and it gives them a role mechanically. In that they can navigate these big pieces of terrain and stuff. So I would like to see them. I don't want to see it overboard, but I would like to see some more interactive terrain mechanics. My friend was, or Tsung Su, obviously, who has been on the channel a billion times, suggested that they might steal a guild ball mechanic of terrain that speeds you up. I think that would be cool. I don't know if it would be good or broken or anything, but I think it would be interesting and a different dynamic. A lot of terrain in most games slows you down, but some guild ball uses mechanics that actually give you benefits when you're near terrain. It's weird thematically; it doesn't really make sense. Usually they use like oil slicks or ice patches or something, so you're sliding around, which doesn't. I mean, that's not really how ice works, but it is an interesting thing to play around. Looks like we've seen Murder Fang get taken down, and was that just Murder Fang? Yeah, and the Intercessors. Okay. Murder Fang, I'm interested to see why we didn't see a fight when he died. But maybe we did. Was that a punch onto the captain? Yeah, I think the captain killed him, and then 8-1 went back. I think that's what happened right there.
He may not be able to live.
But yeah, it looks like Maverick is navigating the assault phase pretty well right now, and not giving Perrin too many opportunities to screw him. And I think we're interrupting with the Wolf Lord, maybe.
He has
Velder, yeah, road for vehicles. Yeah, maybe just roads in general.
6 because of his.
I do like the idea of, I do like road terrain. It's weird to put on the table, but I would like to see something similar, like built up a little bit more. It also makes tables look really cool. Just look at the game I played on my Tau map, with a big road going through the middle. Just like, it just brings it all together. Runways. You could do runways.
5 ups.
Maybe gas tanks.
So 2 die.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. So the Smash Captain with the Mastercraft the
The
Thunderhammer.
captain will fight.
Smash Wolf Lord, I guess, just
your
knocked
battle
2
leader.
Centurions off the table. I was interested. I wasn't
5 attacks.
100% that you got access to special issue war gear as a
Rolling.
Space Wolf,
Winning on 2s.
but I have no idea.
5 on Bulls.
Show.
Oh, they do. Yep, straight up. Oh, it's just a relic.
3 each.
Sick.
No, it's 4. It's 4.
That was from
Yeah.
Psychic Awakening. Okay.
Oh, nope. He did. Yeah.
+1 to hit and +1
Okay.
+1 damage on a Thunderhammer is a really good combination of things to have. You want to get the +1 strength in there, but it doesn't. It gives you the +1
sorry.
to wound against
No.
Centurions, I guess, specifically, but I think
Okay.
it's okay.
So now the intercessors are going to activate.
You're not gonna pile in. Oh, you're base.
They have to fight. They have to fight last.
Yeah.
Oh, we armor of rest
I
the
have to
aggressors.
fight with the other stuff first.
But Ragnar Blackmane
And,
is not in
I
melee.
assumed you based it captain, correct?
I did. Yeah.
So the intercessors are going to swing into the repulsor.
Sure.
Oops. Oh, I picked them up. 3.6. So he can go here. I think Keith's closer. So I have
So killing 2 aggressors with the Wolf
3
Lord
attacks plus the
doesn't
sergeant.
feel that
I'm sorry,
bad.
2 guys plus the sergeant here,
Sure.
and
Especially
guys
since
over there.
these these units are very strong in Overwatch, but if these impulsors
Alright.
remain
We'll go
alive,
into
they
the
can
one with 2
engage them for the
wounds.
next
That's turn by the Centurions first.
and let these characters charge in and fight without being overwatched and really start cutting into these
threes
these
rerolling.
units.
And then wounding on 5s.
Characters
2 armor saves, sir.
like the Wolf Priest and Ragnar back here, obviously.
Down to
Big
1.
Very nice.
And the Impulsor
then
bounced the
attacks.
Thunderhammer from the.
We'll just do Thunderhammer on the extra one. 4 is rerolling. Jesus. Lord have mercy.
I think
wounding on
it
3s.
bounced the.
So 2
Intercessors.
rolls on the
But now the Thunderhammer's going in.
that's
Blows. Not.
Okay.
Yeah,
My
5 guys
mistake.
Inside, I'll just roll my dice.
The Intercessors tagged it for a wound, and that let the Thunderhammer finish it off in the Intercessor squad here.
1. Da-da-da-da. Let's see here.
Advelder, it would be nice if Space Wolf Frost weaponry was better, such that you consistently took it over Thunderhammers and Powerfists. Yeah, Thunderhammers fortunately
they'll
are.
be fine.
I mean, they're pretty thematic, right? For Space Wolves, I think. Yeah, you got Mjolnir, right? You got Vikings using hammers all over the place. So I don't hate it. I don't hate Thunderhammers, but I would like to see the Frost weapons a little bit more often, because that is, a Space Wolf only
Yeah, but
profile
I think you're
for
gonna get
weaponry,
the
and you
edge.
never see them.
I don't know if that's
Back in the day, when I first started playing, they were a power weapon that was +1 strength, and power weapons always ignored all armor saves forever, which was insanity. They were so good, Frost weapons, but now it's just not worth it to take them over the big powerful weapons.
I'm thinking they're equidistant.
Sure, yeah. That's the chaplain, though.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sorry. Because that was the intercessors, I'm not moving them.
Sure.
That's 4.5. 1.5 would get me there.
Yeah.
Four there and 2 there. The captain is already swung, correct? Or your Wolf Lord?
Mhm. Correct, yeah. You base in Ragnar?
No, we're not doing that. He's just gonna chill.
Yeah,
The aggressors will
you run away, Chaplain.
the last.
He's considering engaging Ragnar in melee. Would have absolutely
This one is 2.8.
been killed by Ragnar there.
2.9 from Ragnar.
Adveldor, you see this Blood Angel sword on Sanguinary Guard all the time. Yeah, this is Clave and Carmine.
2.8 there. And
Yeah, that's helped a little bit by the fact that
equidistant.
Blood
Alright,
Angels get
then.
their +1 to wound
Yeah, I guess so.
consistently.
Yeah, it's
So
about
they
2
don't
points,
necessarily
Even
need the
technically
additional
speaking, the-
buffs
the
from
wolf-
their
Oh, yeah,
other
no,
weapons.
Cool.
I think you see
Um,
axes on them a lot of times, though.
nearest
But
model
sort of
here is gonna
mathematically, once
be
you're +1 to
3
wound, and
inches
you
away.
don't really need to get to that
So if I
that
move
high
6,
to break the strength 4 barrier there to
here,
beat toughness 8, you're
I can
kind of
still-
just
all right.
letting it go. It doesn't really matter that much.
So what the intention here is?
It's also really cool. Like,
This
it's
guy is going to orbit
such
here.
a cool thing. Like it's such a
stay
cool
within
weapon. Like
outside
the
of
model,
edge.
specifically the model is really
Oh,
sick.
this guy right here.
Yeah.
But the
There,
other thing is that
hold that thought.
the Glaven Carmine's
This guy,
also
right.
just sort of, it's a free upgrade on a unit that has it, right? Whereas the fresh weapons you have to spend
Come
a
on.
bunch of points on.
You can go here. Be outside of an edge.
Single Regard are always going to have one
And then
version of
piggyback off the guys
an
that
Carmine weapon,
Come in here.
so it might as well be the Glaive a lot of times. Oh, we are going to touch Ragman. Or Ragnar. Ragman. What is this? War Machine? Get out of here. Ragnar is about to be punched by an aggressor in the head. Because the intercessors did kill the impulsor. It looks like three aggressors are going to hit him. Ooh. Could be it for Mr. Ragnar. Although we'll see how greedy Maverick gets here. Ragnar does have an Iron Halo, so it could bounce. He could bounce.
Then he can go here.
Or it might be
outside
called
of an
something
edge,
different than an
within
Iron Halo.
inch of this guy.
He does have a Belt of Russ, a 4+ invulnerable save trinket.
So
And he could bounce the
currently,
Power
I have
Fist.
3 guys that can go into the captain and 3 guys that can go Ragnar.
So we're going to split half and half.
Ragnar has a standard 4 up.
Correct. Yes.
You've already fought from death.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we did see Murder Fang fight when he died already. Ooh, that could be gross. Unfortunately, Murder Fang
I
knocked
realized I forgot to
the
use my stratagem to explode on 4-ups.
Space Marine captain, the Raven Guard captain,
Oof.
and punked him
Yeah,
for
that'll be
3,
good.
but didn't kill him.
I think
that would've been
put everything
good.
into Ragnar.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, everybody's just going to punch Ragnar to death. Yeah, that's fair.
So that's gonna be
Hopefully he
25.
bounces a million attacks here. Guess this guy's within an inch. Yeah, that
Sometimes it
looks,
doesn't-
yeah, this
sometimes it
guy's
doesn't
within
count
an
the ones
inch
that are
here.
double stacked.
So that all 6 aggressors can get in there.
Yeah, still need more left. Okay. Either hitting on 4s, reroll.
At Valdor, I'm 100% hoping that Ragnar just bounces this attack and kills the crap out of this entire unit. I'm so rooting for him right now. Oh, that's a lot of hits, though.
Hit, 2s to
Jesus, that conversion is insanity. Oh,
so,
God.
18 wounds.
Don't worry, Ragnar.
Unable.
You will make 16 of these.
He did.
No, he did not. Oh, that sucks.
Alrighty.
Bull.
Uh,
Bull.
That's
Yeah, I think this
I'm
game
sorry.
might be over quick, honestly,
fucked up.
ladies and gentlemen.
What's up?
technically speaking, your Wolf Priest and your Impulsor get the fight first. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. Yeah. My Wolf Priest will. Can he strike into the captain right now?
I believe you got to go closer towards the.
Well, I'm. Can I do it?
And this is a big things you hate to see energy. Yeah, dude.
Could through your captain? No, captain's at least an inch through.
Do these guys?
It's got to be the
Do
same
these
unit.
guys armor of rust?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the same unit. So his base is.
I guess Ragnar must have interrupted, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but this Wolf Lord
it's
interrupted.
32
confused.
is at least an inch.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Oh, but they piled into Ragnar.
So
Duh.
then he's
I
got
don't know
to
what
go
I'm
into
talking
some
about.
Charions. And he's got.
Yeah, that's the 6-inch pylon
Nice
from
add
Canticle of Hate.
radius.
Kind of insanity if you think about it. That's something that a lot of units
Penalties.
sort of pay for. And the Canticle of Hate just comes with its stock.
And then winning on 4s.
But you do have to stay next to that chapel, and a lot of times it's not possible because you charge out of the aura so often.
2
But
AP1.
in
right?
this particular instance, it has been really brutal.
So 3s.
Yep.
We're good. And then your Impulsor gets to attack.
Oh, sure. It'll attack into. The one
Yeah,
on
Ragnar
6
getting
wounds.
knocked out. Ragnar and Murderfang so far, and the Armor of Rust Battle Leader.
Is it? It shouldn't be.
I mean,
Six.
there
Should
are
be
still
great on
3 units
Sure.
of
Yeah.
intercessors with Thunderhammers
This-
coming out of these transports to
This
come
thing. The other
bang
one will
bonk
attack
on these
one
aggressors and
attack,
stuff.
I think. One
Plus,
attack.
this
You
looks
hit
like
on
this
5s,
Wolf
right?
Lord is surviving this turn,
Yeah, you don't have 5s.
unless we see
You
a
get
couple
+1.
double fights.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. One hit on your intercessors. Whoopity do. One.
I'm on wound. 3 up. Take a wound. I think that kills
Like
one.
McCarthy, make Wolfen great
Full
again.
wound,
Yeah. They
other
are pretty
attacks,
great. Yeah,
aggressors.
they do need a way to get there.
Rolling
Maybe
dice.
land raiders. Put them in land
Pretty
raiders.
good.
Let's make land raiders be able to move and shoot, or fall back and shoot, and
3 up.
give them a bunch of extra speed and let them advance or charge after disembarking or moving after disembarking.
All right.
Yeah, in this, I have the same. I am also
I'm
worried
assuming
about
you
that.
base these Centurions when you.
Yes.
I about
Uh,
the fact that it
it
looks
doesn't
like they
really
won't
matter,
need
based
that
on
you
what
won't
my-
need to take troops. That terrifies the crap
I mean,
out of me.
it's
But
good. It's good.
we haven't seen the
All
rolls
right,
yet, so
so-
who knows?
Oh, because you can fight again, right? Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
I did declare them a charge target, but not these guys. I think I gotta go for the haymaker.
Seems good.
We fight again with the Centurions, maybe, and try to knock this Wolf Lord out. I think you have to kill the Wolf Lord. The Wolf Lord could kill your entire army right now, basically.
13 attacks into the Wolf Lord. Down to 3 command point or 1 command point. Threes and rerolls.
Oof. Uh-oh, Wolf Lord. Oh, no, 100% hits.
12 saves and you're in.
Oh, no. This could be curtains for Mr. Wolfie Boy.
He's dead.
Oh, exactly dies. No. Wolf Lord. What?
And I believe, sir, that is on to you.
Cool.
Oh,
All right,
jeez.
So
I just spent a shit ton of command points. Holy fudge.
you have 1. All right.
Darren Kelly's second Space Wolves game in a row where the Wolf
turn,
player loses his
I get
character's first
bonus.
turn. What was the other Space Wolves game where the Wolf player loses his character's
A
first
max
turn?
headhunter. Got recon. I think I just maxed. Because that's 30. I have not maxed fin game yet.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, the game is pretty much over, but I'll play it out.
I mean, did you want to talk it through?
No, of course not.
Okay.
I have nothing to kill your big stuff with because I misplaced my Ragnar model, and that's fine. But I also should have, my captain should have, my Wolf Lord should have done his exploding attacks thingy. I just totally forgot I can do that. And that's what happens when you play the army 3 times. All right, so let's see here. Yep, it's gonna get out. Get to work. See if I can kill all these.
Darren Kelly. Yeah, the Chaos Knight game they did kill.
Stupid clump.
They did kill the Wolf characters here one, but that's not the last Space Wolves game that we cast. In fact, we just cast one like an hour ago, where the characters did not die on turn 1. In fact, decidedly did not die on turn 1. In fact, almost kicked the crap out of an entire Tyranid army.
I kill the aggressors. Should be okay.
Sam Moyer, how did he get so deep turn 1? Yeah, I mean, just sort of doing Raptors things.
So they lose like 3.
To run the combo through again for everybody who sort of missed it. The Raptors they played Vanguard Strike deployment, so the Raptors deployment looks like that was a bad line that I just drew right there. The Raptors deployed something like this. They have a Warlord trait Master of Ambush that allows them to pre-deploy or forward deploy a unit from concealed positions. So they 9 inches out of their opponent's deployment zone, so they were able to put their aggressors here. This is where the aggressors were, right there. Then they used the other stratagem that Raptors have or that Raven Guard have. I keep calling them Raptors because everybody plays them as Raptors, but they are it's just a Raven Guard stratagem to move and advance before the first turn begins. You can't end within 9 inches of enemies, so the aggressors couldn't do it themselves. But there were Centurions here, and they were able to move, I think, 8 or 9 inches. There was a unit of intercessors here who also did the same thing. There was a smash captain with a jump pack who also did the same thing. Then you take the first turn. The aggressors move forward. The smash captain moves forward. The centurions move forward. You give them all plus 2 inches to charge with the chaplain buff from right here, and the intercessors moved up. And then they all just charge in with plus 2, and that gives you also a 6-inch pile and consolidate. So they all charged in. They fought the impulsors right on the deployment line right here. The first unit went in, and I think he was able to shoot a center impulsor to death and charge through the gap into the characters in here. And then anything that got through was able to 6-inch pile, use a 6-inch pile and consolidate. And that's just Raven Guard things. Hashtag just Raven Guard things. At Veldor, a guy almost took out a Maleceptor with a knife. With one knife. He's like Drax in Guardians 2. And he's like, the Maleceptor eats him and he's like hacking away from the inside. What a silly game that was. That stupid Maleceptor. Should have run away from him.
One, is it within...
And TTS is great for playing new armies and losing horribly to the same OBS.
Yeah, it just looks like I'm within 17 right there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I wonder what happens in this game if all of these transports just deploy like 8 inches farther back, and he just he just accepts that he's just gonna 17. Eat the shooting for another turn.
There you go.
Yeah, we're good.
Same where make the pregame move just a move and not in advance. Does that fix it?
Move in here.
Maybe it certainly helps. Sure, it makes the Centurions less threatening, definitely, and it also makes the Smash Captain, or it makes anything that's not a Smash Captain basically less threatening. But the Smash Captain will get in there. I think
he would not have been able to.
Because the Centurion was here. He could have come over here.
You would have had
I think
we will just
that
-2 by touching these.
I think you just make it a set distance, like you make it a 6-inch move or something.
Yep.
That way you can't abuse it with jump infantry and your Centurions, even if they advance. You probably would get higher on an advance roll.
Yeah,
maybe just make them move 6 inches or something like that.
Inch
Or, I mean, honestly, like just remove it from the game.
All right.
There's almost never been a situation where it's But no, that's not true. No, I actually like pregame moves. I think it's okay. I don't like the for forward deployment.
3.5 inches.
The pregame move you can play around unless it's the jump infantry guys. The issue is the forward deploying.
Yeah, I guess. Towing. I guess. Oh my God.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you could also just say that they can't charge turn 1. Yeah, I think that is fair. I don't think it solves the issue with the redeploy specifically. So I actually don't really care about that change that much. The issue with the redeploy is the bolter shots on the top of one. It's not really the charging. You rarely see them charge after the turn 1 move.
Let's do.
The issue is that it can, or the pregame deploy and pregame move. The issue is that you can drop 100 bolter shots into somebody's deployment zone. From units that are slow move and meant to be balanced by their slow move.
You have 1 CP left, right?
Yeah,
I think the forward deployment was a mistake, but I think the pregame move.
I had to kill Ragnar.
Yeah, no, I mean it was a good play. I definitely made an error. So,
Lyle Dixon, the pregame move doesn't.
Let's see.
The pregame move rarely allows the forward deployed units to move, and you can't end within 9 inches of enemy models with it. Enemy models, excuse me. So once you're forward deployed 9 inches away from them, it doesn't really help you that much. The issue is that it adds an extra 8 inches or 8 or 9 inches of threat to the Centurions. That's the only reason that they were able to get to melee.
On 5s.
7. On 5s into the aggressors.
Yeah, Innes Wilson, I agree with you. The issue is that they're going to shoot you. The issue is rarely that they're going to charge you. Raven Guard, in my experience, don't do as much damage in the combat phase as they do in the shooting.
Adjustment on your box, real quick.
Sam, I believe.
So it shows in the script. So if you right click on that, it pulls up the the menu and everything. And if you go down to where like the description is, the top one is results, : yes or no, and
Just right. Yes.
yeah. And then when you roll into it, it shows up.
Cool. So then I'll do the other two. I'm just gonna roll them together.
I believe that it's a stratagem for Raven Guard to advance and shoot bolt
16
guns.
hitting on 3s into the aggressors.
Aggressors can always advance and shoot bolt guns, or their weapons anyway, and they ignore the penalty because that's
5, 6.
what aggressors do. But also the
This
pregame
way, I can
movement,
roll over
because
here
it's not
and
during your
it
movement
shows
phase,
up
it
the
doesn't
chat.
preclude you from shooting anyway. So if you advanced with the pregame move, then you did a standard move, you would still be able to fire. And that's just how the turn structure of the game works. There's not really,
19 bolter shots.
without writing it
Small
into
right now.
the rules
Actually,
of the stratagem, there's no way
let's
to
do-
change that.
Yeah, because I lost a guy to explosion, I believe.
Oh yes, right. Yeah. So are these auto or are these?
I'm going to try to
These
pull
are
up that
bolt
stratagem
guns.
to fire, to advance and
They
fire bolt
should
guns.
have.
I'm gonna throw.
Or the ability. I think
First-
it's an
first,
ability. I don't remember.
This unit right here
Mhm.
is going
Crack grenade.
to throw a crack grenade, but first it's going to shoot its bolt rifles. So there's 3 guys with bolt rifles, so 6 shots. Hitting on 3s.
5 stoned.
1 wound.
Safe.
Nice one.
So 4 up. Make it.
Cool. Crack grenade.
Misses.
Next unit's going to do the same thing. I'll shoot the 8
Bolters.
shots first. The
Yep.
bolters. And then 5. 2.
4 ups. I believe in you. Nope. Takes 2. So 1 dies.
Crack grenade. Hits.
3 to 1.
wound. No.
Misses.
And then the next one, next squad.
Same thing.
There's a guy on 2 wounds, right?
Yep.
Throw the crack grenade first. Hits. Wounds.
So
-1.
AP2. So 5 up.
Okay, I think I misspoke. It's
6
advance
is
and charge. It's a Raven Guard ability. It's a warlord trait. I think I was thinking of White Scars. They have an ability to fire their weapons as assault weapons.
And then
So
8
that's my bad.
shots.
Samware, yeah, that's basically
What's
what we're saying. That's the issue with designing
And
top down. You make
everyone
cool,
has
fluffy
full
rules,
wounds, so I'll
but
start
if
with
you don't
the
consider
crack
them
grenade.
in a competitive
One
environment,
squad.
you get
Yep.
ridiculous things happening.
Hits.
Misses.
Not
And
wound.
really, I think it's kind of exemplified by these Raptors, or these Raven Guard stuff.
Oh, where's my captain? Yeah,
Sorry.
1.
4 up.
Steady advance. No, that just lets you advance and
so
fire
my
bolt
first center fire
encounter
unit's gonna
stationary
target
for
your
bolter
scouts.
discipline.
Mhm.
It doesn't let you advance and shoot your guns.
Is that right?
And Centurions
I'm on
also
6
always
up,
count
so-
as stationary as long as they don't advance with their
Yeah.
bolters.
First one to your scouts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Nice round number. It's like you've been firing 8 for the past, I don't know, a while.
0 1s.
1 on 3s.
3s.
Real on 1s. Holy crap.
Jeez, these dice are terrible.
That many.
Good thing they're rerolling.
7 6s. 6s, baby. 4 of them right now. No, okay.
Yeah, it was definitely a White Scars thing I was thinking of because
And you
the
have
first
4
iteration of the
aggressors,
Centurions list
so
was
I'm
White
gonna shoot
Scars
into this
before
unit's
Raven Guard were
Atari
released,
here.
and that was a tech that they usually
one.
employed, was to advance with all of the White Scars buffed to advancing. They would advance their assault Centurions up the table, and then fire their guns anyway, their
3,
all their weapons anyway.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Same where Primaris units were a mistake. The issue isn't even Primaris units here. It's Centurions. They're not even a Primaris unit. I think Primaris units are cool. I think they make Space Marines really sick. The issue is these dumb Centurion boys. Even if it was just a unit of aggressors like being obnoxious, aggressors aren't that hard to kill, and
So,
they don't do
6
that
up
much
either way. You
damage
said 3.
unless you let them. But the Centurions really push it over the edge.
2 die.
Cool. I'll put the last one into them. So 10 shots.
Hit on 3s, real 1s. 3 is to wound.
5.
So close.
Lyle Dixon, performances like this make me wonder why
a lot of 6s.
Space Marine players would play any chapter other than Raptors. Well, it's consistency, right? Raptors are extremely
And
swingy.
These guys using cursors, I think, have.
Luke, I might be thinking of Eldar, who can advance and do whatever they want. I think this particular game is a combination of very aggressive deployment by Perrin. He just deployed everything on the line, and I think was hoping to beat the Centurions in the
There you go.
in the fight phase, and it didn't pan out. You sort of navigate the fight phase better than they did and beat them that way, and it didn't work out. He killed half of a Centurion unit, but he wasn't able to get anything else.
I will declare this unit in cover against your aggressors.
Just the aggressors. Okay.
So
8d6.
This list goes. It super duper wants to go first. It's super duper wants to fight at it like into an army that's kind of deployed up against the line.
And then another.
And that's just it. All went
went
well for them, right? Like it was a good turn order into good deployment. And then also good stuff just happening.
24
blowing up an impulsor
48.
with guns, pretty reasonable that it happens, but also
so
it could not because they have 4+ vulnerables.
those dice are coming back. I'm just gonna copy.
And if any part of this plan
choice.
goes south, it could immediately hose them. I think if you play this game 100 times, this doesn't happen that often.
Admittedly, I'm not hitting on like anything.
Innes Wilson, if this sense failed to make it in, Jeff looks real smart, but I'm not sure his deployment allowed for super great armor of rush shenanigans. Yeah, I agree. It seemed like he boxed himself in a little too much.
77. Can you take that +1 wound or +1 save token away before I grab it? Yeah.
Freaking
Anyone
Overwatch
fixes
off of aggressors. Oh my god. Oh, ladies and gentlemen.
And then wounding on 4s.
Charging aggressors sucks. I guess it was only 14, and you wound on 4s and save on 2s, so it's actually not going to be that much damage, but
so 7
maybe just a wound, but it's like feels bad, man. All right, it pinged. Man, but if those are light infantry, they cannot make that charge. You lose 10 models to that.
So I'm going to be outside of 3 inches of your chaplain is the intent.
Okay.
So let me know if that's up.
Yeah, I think Jeff
easily
was hoping
I will measure
that
just to make sure.
that his dice just like sort of help him through, right?
And
The alpha strike, and that he's able to come back. And I don't think it worked for him.
Here.
He can clean up this Raven Guard stuff, but I think the damage may have been done already. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how he plays it out too. Usually, this is where you see the really good players eke points out where they can.
You can't fail that, I don't believe.
Or at least they aren't Flamestorm. Yeah, we did see some really cool tech with Blood Angels, Flamestorm aggressors. Because if you charge them, you die because they automatically hit you 46 times each, and if you don't charge them, they 6-inch heroic intervention into you. Could also be done with Space Wolves. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's really cool. I would rather charge Flamer Sense than I would charge into frickin' Flamestorm aggressors 100% every day. Every day I would charge into Flamer Sense. It'll be interesting to see how he can mitigate the interrupt here. Let's take a look at CPs. Maverick did say he spent 1 billion CP. Oh, he actually can't interrupt.
This squad.
He spent 17 CP on the first turn of the game, ladies and gentlemen.
Good.
He used the pregame. He got a bunch of extra warlord traits, I imagine. He used the in relics. He used the pregame moves on half of his army, and then he double fought and probably rerolled some stuff, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And used the move and shoot ability with his tank commander, I think.
I'll color these guys in a minute, actually.
It's
17
fine,
TCP in 1 turn. I mean, if it allows you to kill an enormous swath of your opponent's army, it's definitely worth it. That is a way that this list may get a little bit worse. Is that if it is limited on its CP. from the get-go in 9th edition. We'll see.
Cool blue color. All right, so is this guy within an inch?
That's also, I should say, like including pre-games, and he had a bunch of pre-games. He upgraded his champion with Master of Sanctity. He had a specialist detachment.
Yeah.
He probably has the
just
relic
move him
here. He
closer that
has
way.
a relic here, I imagine. He has an extra warlord trait over here, I think. So I imagine this list
And
spends
my last
3
squad
to 5
into
CP pre-game pretty commonly.
Centurions and
Plus,
your
you then move half of your
Smash
army
Cap.
before the game starts.
Okay.
Might as well go into the aggressors too, for what it's worth. 3. All right, good to know.
So aggressors, captain, and all right, cool. The Centurions. The stuff that is already tagged, I guess.
Okay, so no interrupting. So first, let's do red squad. I'll put 3 regular guys into your captain,
Yep.
and the other 2 guys into the aggressors. There's no wounded aggressors right now, right?
I do not believe so.
So first is the sergeant hitting on 3s. He's wounding on 3s. So it's 2 at -3.
Well, Dixon, if they
He's
make
baller
pre-game strats
6s.
limited to 1 at a time or 1 time
Nope.
only, does that help fix
Should.
the power problem? I think so.
Okay,
I think it helps
guy
for
with
sure.
3 attacks.
How you can't move your entire army pre-game at that point, which is good. I mean, in this case, it only means that you don't get like an intercessor unit in, right?
And then 3 guys.
Maybe your smash
into
captain doesn't get
your
in.
Captain.
Should be 12 attacks. Or 9 attacks.
Pick those all up. Hold on. I'll hit.
Yep.
You could make a blanket statement that pre-game strats can't be used, and then allow some stratagems to be used multiple times pre-game, right? You can just build that into the wording of stratagems. That's, I think, something that's already exists, or at least easy to template anyway.
Okay. Let's go with that case.
That was red squad, correct?
Or just limit some of these stratagems to
Let's
once per
go
battle.
with green squad. Yeah, green squad. So first is the mighty hammer. Hits. No wounds. And then 9 attacks.
Yep.
That wasn't good.
5s.
Nothing.
Jeez.
Okay.
Some really terrible dice on Perrin's
bad.
side here.
Oh, well.
His Thunderhammer whiffed on the, or his second Thunderhammer whiffed on the aggressors, and his
next to the
standard
white
punches
squad,
whiffed also.
I will put
Ugh,
1,
that
2,
sucks.
3, 4 guys into the captain and the intercessor
Thunderhammer, Centurions.
into the Centurions.
Okay.
We did see some good attack sequencing here. Perrin
Mm.
asked before he began attacking if there were any injured aggressors. If there were, he would try to knock them
12
off
into
with
the
the regular melee attacks from his intercessors, and then use the hammer on the uninjured ones
Jeez,
to
3.
get the maximum damage through.
Takes 1.
Cool.
4
And
intercessors,
Thunderhammer attacks.
looks like, fail to kill the captain here. Very frustrating also.
3 hits.
2
2
saves. 5 up. 1 dies.
And the Centurion goes down to the white squad, and it looks like blue squad will be able to knock these guys out. Assuming... Well,
Blue squad.
Blue squad.
maybe
same
we
thing.
don't see...
not
Yeah, all the characters are dead. So there's no... If there was armor of rust on the table and you could get it into the aggressors, I think you definitely go for a wrap there. It's questionable at this point. Maybe you try to wrap the aggressors, but aggressors are pretty dangerous.
1.
5 up. Good. Or takes it.
Yeah, so he takes 3, and then there's 4 guys, so 12 attack. I'll hit.
3 saves.
3 save.
3 2 up.
Kills him.
Wow, there you go. Down to just the Centurion Sergeant. Definitely give that guy a little hug.
Bring the old wolf priest.
100%.
He has, 3 attack.
And the Wolf Priest going in also. I absolutely got him confused with the chaplain over here.
Cool.
Alrighty.
It is problematic that there is this match
Kill my
captain
army.
still alive here.
The
And all these,
no
all
other-
of these
no
these
other
weapons are
stuff,
multi-damage.
right?
They could just start
Okay.
scything through intercessors. So we'll see how it
All
goes.
right, the aggressors are going to. I pulled the wrong one. Fuck it. The aggressors are going to swing into green squad.
Samware on the bright side, when
Yes.
we're all limited to 10 CPs in 9th edition, this shit won't happen.
Which one is?
The blue squad, sorry.
I don't think that's true at all.
Okay.
It means that it'll just happen and they won't have any CPs. But they'll have, like we were talking about before, but they may have more troops to do it with because they won't have to take troop charge. So they won't have more, elite units to do it with.
2 wound. So that many 6-ups.
Jeez,
So I gotta do these one at a time. Technically gotta do them one at a time. That is.
Saves are brutal.
Dead. Not dead. Dead. Dead.
And that's
Yeah.
And the aggressor's picking entire intercession squad out.
And they base red. Of course.
Yikes.
correct.
Yikes.
Because that should give me the objective. Because I believe you're outside of 3.
Sure.
So unless you fight again.
Luke McCarthy.
All right.
Samware, sure, but I
How do
mean,
we do this?
you don't need to spend all 17 to make this stuff happen for the most part.
Captain's got 5 attacks.
17 or having 18 CP just means that you have a lot more leeway in the things you can do and the combos you can build, but it doesn't mean that like if you have one core
with
ability that
the
you're going to
Assault
use,
Centurion,
10 CP is
put 5
enough
attacks into
CP to
the
pull off
squad.
any combo in the game. Like you don't it just means that you'll have less warlord traits and specialist
Four
attachments and
attacks?
special relics and tank ace
he was
abilities and
charged.
all this other
He's a
stuff.
sergeant.
Like you might do a little bit
He's
less
got
damage over the
4
course of the game, but
Okay.
it's not going to stop,
now so
his
Yeah.
turn 1 charges
He's
and
also
stuff like
leadership
that.
7 on the for some reason table. It's supposed to be leadership 8 on the sergeant.
No worries.
They're rerolling. No. Killing on 2.
I also think that the Raven Guard army needs very
Before
specific counterplay.
Sure.
That Perrin did not do.
And then the captain will put in.
I don't think it's like 100% foregone conclusion. If you go
attacks
second
into
into Raven
Red
Guard,
Squad.
you lose automatically every time.
Sure.
I definitely think that there's opportunities for this list to fall down on its face and die.
2s. So 3 saves on red squad. 6s.
3?
Yep. 2 down. Okay.
Yeah, the issue is that Jay Hunt, the problem with the cost increase is that the cost would increase for all Space Marine chapters. Yeah, the issue is that, especially Assault Centurions in particular, and aggressors as well, are sort of
So, but I should.
they're just like a poorly designed unit, right? They're like a slow melee unit, which has no place anywhere. There's no place in the game for a melee unit that's slow and tanky. Like nothing's tanky enough to survive, your opponent's entire armor shooting at you. And if they're slow and in short range, then they'll never get to combat.
This way.
So the issue is that, if you make them bad in this situation, then they become entirely unplayable, right? For the most part.
I don't know if you can.
I do think that they were probably poorly costed because they are very inexpensive, but
He was right.
I think they're
right?
fairly costed if they are played,
So
sort of,
1.5
if they're
automatic.
played
You
fairly.
go
I think
here.
they're
Yeah, you're closer.
maybe even
Sorry, my bad.
a little bit bad.
Cool.
They're just sort of a
So
big
then
Death
I'm
Star
gonna
that
put
rolls
4
slowly
guys
around the
into
table. They're like a
captain
Leviathan
again,
Dreadnought,
and 1
basically.
guy into the Assault
And
Centurion.
people think Leviathan Dreadnoughts are
Into the
terrible.
Assault
So,
Centurion.
or some people think Leviathan Dreadnoughts are terrible. John Damaris will tell you every time that he thinks Leviathan Dreadnoughts are unplayable
Alright.
garbage.
Nothing. All right, cool. So then 4 guys is 12
jeez.
attacks.
Looks like the Thunderhammer just bounced off Centurion Sergeant, and we're going to try to kill the Smash Captain.
4s.
5 saves?
Let's throw 5 saves through at him. That should get him.
3 ups, right?
We're just going to roll him up here. He
Good.
makes them all. Oh, God.
Cool. All right. So this guy
That's too bad.
is now closer to this guy. He.
0.03.
And my intent is to be closer to the aggressor. So
Okay,
he was, you know what I'm saying? Because he ended closer to the captain.
gotcha.
And then he's going to come 3 inches this way. And this guy will end closer to the captain like that.
Yep, you're in cohesion. Cool. So, all right,
So
end of
it's not
turn.
my turn. I have no recon because I'm not in this quarter over here.
You've
but I
maxed the
do-
butchers.
Yeah.
You've maxed
I
the
got
shit out of
Butcher's
the
Bill. Oops. Yeah, I got a Butcher's Bill from the 2.
Yeah, you can listen to,
Quads.
it was
You
a
get a bonus.
semifinals pod
Hold, a kill, and a
2.
hold. You kill.
Pod 2 semifinals, I believe. Imperial Bond versus IR
Well, that's
Wedge, if I remember
so
correctly.
Blue Squad lost 4 dudes.
And
right?
it was, and John
Yeah.
Damaris and I commentated
And
that
then your
game.
aggressors lost.
And he made some good points that Leviathan Dreadnoughts are too easy to shut down, right?
6 twice.
Was his point. If you don't want a Leviathan Dreadnought to shoot at you, it probably shouldn't. There's almost no situation in which a Leviathan Dreadnought should be
only
allowed to
2
fire
this
its
turn.
weapon.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Outside of like sort of the Iron Curtain list with Imperial
Well, that didn't
with
go as
Iron
good as I
Hands,
wanted it
that
to,
makes
that's
it
for sure.
super
I was
duper
hoping to at least kill the captain,
hard
and
to
the
kill.
Centurions and the aggressors.
It's extremely easy to stop them from
Okay.
doing anything.
Go
If you
ahead.
tag it with any fast charging unit, you can shoot at it a bunch and it will die. Like it's not outside
And
of
all
Iron
your
Hands, it's
aggressors
not
on the
an
table,
invincible
correct?
god.
Everything's on the table.
They're just guys, right? They're
You
just
should
big
be able to
dreadnoughts.
Table me, well, not table me.
The issue is that they can take the
Should be
center of the
pretty
table so
much
well, and if you
destroy
let them,
me on this
like they will rip you up.
I
But especially with things like Nova L's, right? If you have a
Okay.
Leviathan in the center of this table,
I'm
it
an
can't
eternal
threaten
pessimist, I'm
things in
sorry.
here. It can't threaten things back here. It's just this big dumb idiot.
that
At Valdor in Raider 210 versus
I
Dark
guess I
Angel
didn't
Dan's
realize
game,
that,
which
you
was
had an
another
charge with your whole army. It's just the one dude, to be honest with you.
another game in that
Oh.
pod. It did kill a bunch of Eldar tanks, and to diagram it out, yeah, you can go back and watch that game. And we did talk about Shuma and I commentated that game. It deployed on the line, and the Eldar tanks also deployed on the line, and it moved up to the center of the table, and it got 2 full rounds of shooting, and there was no reason for the Eldar tanks to stay in range of it. They move so much faster than it does. They can outpace its entire threat range in 2 turns of movement. But Raider 210 elected to stand still, and it killed full to dead 3 grav tanks, I believe, and he lost the game, I think, because of that. But it was entirely avoidable.
Oh my god.
That's 9 inches.
Shuma says, a Levdred can fit on the middle ruin ceiling and is almost impossible to base. Excuse me? What does that mean? You mean these ruins? It cannot stand on these ruins. If your opponent was standing a Leviathan Dreadnought on the 2nd floor of a ruin, they are cheating. That is how cheating works.
You know what? Fuck you. There.
It's only 14 wounds. This game's almost over. I don't know if we need to bring anybody in on it right now. Shuma, we did talk about commentating it, but I think this probably ends in a turn or 2.
I should do Linneas, yeah. +2 to charge. Goes off.
Yeah, Luke
Roll
McCarthy,
hits.
you cannot put a Leviathan Dreadnought in the 2nd level of ruin.
Canticles, I'll roll. 3, I forgot what it is. It's
I'm not sure where the confusion is here, but Leviathan Dreadnought has the vehicle keyword, and it does not have the fly keyword, which means that it is not legal to place it on the 2nd floor of a ruin. And it's Wilson, it's just a bad double Avenger night. Yeah. Sounds about right. Velder, what if you play Salamanders and Red Scorpions? You could carry
So Blue Squad is
Cullen
outside
10
of combat,
toughness.
correct? sure.
I love it.
Or
Let's
no,
do
is
it.
he-
I like my favorite is a local of mine played Raven Guard as a Red Scorpions as a Raven Guard successor, and and Shadow stepped Carry Cullen around. It was the coolest thing. Unfortunately, that guy does not have storm cannons, and he does not do that much damage. But he is a very cool model. He's a cool stat line. He is one of the coolest sort of silly character rules in the game, or silly sort of flavorful rules in the game. Whereas if you pick somebody up in his Power Fist, he can shoot them with his Heavy Bolter, and I think he just continually deals mortal wounds to them. Or he shoots them with the Heavy Bolter, and every time he hits them, he deals mortal wounds to them. And after he does that, he can't shoot his Heavy Bolter anymore because he runs out of ammo. I think it's adorable.
Now you can table me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it looks like this game's probably about to be over after all these Thunderfire cannons get blown up. Jay Hunt, what about Brayarth Ashmantle with 11 toughness? I'm in. The Brayarth Ashmantle combo is so cool, and I love it so much. Where you just make him a bajillion toughness.
The intention is they're just going to be
So cool.
each way.
Sure.
And it was in T13 Brayarth
But you have a
Ashmantle is the
6-inch
actual
exposure range
icon of
target.
8th edition.
Question of the night. Let's see.
Unfortunately, you can't give him the relic for -1 to wound as well,
D6,
right?
yeah.
Because that would be so cool. Ethan, no, the Psyker does, whose name, Severin Loth does,
Okay,
the Red
I'm
Scorpion
gonna be even
Psyker.
further away.
We were talking about him in the semis of Pod 3, Nick Rose versus Brad Weir, which was a super good game.
Yeah,
We're going to
outside
see
of
the
the-
finals of that pod on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. EST.
Sure.
Tune in for that to watch that game. It's going to be sick. Salamanders versus another faction that is not Salamanders. Shit, I just forgot what it was. It's in the Discord. I can just look at it.
Chaplain is going to hop over here.
It's versus Phenomeno, who is playing Blood Angels. That game's going to be awesome. Blood Angels are cool. Blood Angels may be one of the most fun factions to watch play.
Crosses are falling back. Fire. Should give me my
Yeah, Severin Loth is pretty brutal if you have sort of targetable psychers. Especially, I think we
These
saw him.
repulsors are annoying to kill. Holy
We saw
crap.
a little
Take that not
bump
being-
of him
Limit
when
for hatred.
Grey Knights got released.
They
Some
put
people
four
were
up.
audibling into Red Scorpions
could.
to bring him because he gives you full rerolls against their entire army, which is brutal. But they're not seeing the same level of consistency in the meta that everybody thought they would be, and so
this Astro Pass.
I think he fell out pretty quickly. But we did talk about Nick Rose talked about swapping into Red Scorpions to switch one of his librarians to Severin Loth, and I think that's a fair call. Especially helps that Salamander successor Scorpions are some of the best in the game. Nick Rose, how's this game going? It's brutal. Apostle of Ruin, aka Maverick 25, went first with Raven Guard and got all of his things off. Perrin here deployed everything in a little box on his deployment line, and we were playing Vanguard Strike. And Apostle of Ruin got all of his units double moved with the Raven Guard strat into right up in his deployment and charged and killed a whole bunch of stuff. We're basically in the mop-up now. It looks like we may see a tabling this turn. Otherwise, maybe there's a couple of Tech Marines left, and that's it, I think, for the Astartes.
The intention here is to create a little bit of a bubble so you can't land your
Nick Rose,
pulsar should it survive.
you told your secrets. That whole game was live streamed, Nick. Surprise. Ethan, yeah, this is the same. I mean, it's the same player. This is just the next round of that pod, so I believe. This is pod 8. Are you in pod 8? You're in pod 8. Yeah, this is pod 8.
Okay.
I don't know how this game goes if Perrin doesn't deploy on the line here. I don't know if he has the toughness to push it through. Part of the big strength of the aggressor forward deployment is that you don't have to just go all in for the YOLO. You can just drop them in here and use them to defend your gun line, which is strong. But I think Perrin would much rather play that game than the game where he gets punched and loses a bunch of characters top one. Necros fake news. I'm sorry to burst your bubble there, man.
Does go off. 2 up is more wound. So it takes more wound.
Innes, is it bad that I'm now just rooting for Jeff to lose by enough that we don't play around for? Ethan, this list is hard to deploy against if you want to shelter from the range elements. They just let you bunch. Yeah, you kind of have to have the screens, right? That stop the forward moment, the pregame move. It is tough. I agree.
Shooting phase. He's gonna give himself the order to reroll ones. Reroll ones. Move on the.
In my opinion, I think this is one of the reasons that I think that the first and second disparity needs to be addressed a little bit more than it is. Because if you have more favorable terrain against this list, it's not much better, but it does help a lot. If you can physically hide the important parts of your army, then just throw away your screens to the Alpha Strike. I think that's fine. But it's tough, like when you're in this situation and you can't hide you can't hide your impulsors, right? You can't hide your whole army behind this L, and they're just going to forward deploy here and double tap you. And you're like, all right, sick. You need some better terrain.
They're going to fire even though they advance.
Yeah, Nick Rose, this is a pot of death. I don't know what happened. But yeah, we had John. We had Apostle, who's currently number 3 ITC right now, I think. Not that means a ton, because ITC is a little messed up after quarantine, but that still means something. It means he won a ton of events back to back right in the start of the first quarter. And then we have Jeff Poole, obviously, in here as well. Yeah, really tough pod.
Pin on 4s. Win on 5s. That many saves on the cursors.
Valder, when are we switching to new maps? Right now, honestly, I've to offer a peek behind the curtain a little bit. There has been some real life, not drama, but sort of hiccups in my life in the last couple of weeks, and I haven't had the same time to devote to working on those as much as I have. And right now, the transition over to BCP is taking a lot of my extra time. So once we are fully transferred over to the new standing system, that is when we will begin the great work, the great journey to transition to new maps. I'm working with some very cool new concepts right now that I think are going to look sweet. So I would like to do it certainly before the Invitational, and at least I would like to fully implement them in July. And see how it goes. We'd like to do some testing with them, and just assuming that 9th edition doesn't turn sort of the terrain system entirely on its head. But we can't, because we have so little information, we can't really. We're just going to go ahead and build it. 9th edition is going to throw a little bit of a wrench in the works, but right now I think the plan is just to have them ready to go for July. Lyle Dixon, is somebody trying to get into tournaments? These pods have helped me really grapple with the question of if I have the stomach for all the nonsense people can bring. Nick Rose, this is Nova-esque terrain. What are you talking about? Do you want more craters in the corners and less line of sight blocking?
Cool.
And Valder, everyone should go give to the Tactical Quarters Kickstarter. We don't have a Kickstarter, so I don't want to get a bunch of PMs about where our Kickstarter link is.
And he takes 2.
Cool.
The Scorpius is going to put his strength 6 and the Stubbers into the red squad, and his heavy shots here.
Yeah, Innes, I'm pretty sure this terrain right here is about 10 times more terrain than I ever saw on a table at Nova. The tables I played at Nova were the 2 Ls. Almost every table was the same. It was the 2 Ls. It was a ruin that was about half this size, The line of sight blocking bit was about half this size. It had usually one big line of sight blocker and then a big base around it. That was the whole ruin. And then a crater on the other corner. That was no line of sight blocking or a hill. And then the two L's. And the two L's were usually 10 by 10 and not 12 by 12 and about 2 inches thick. So they look like this. Ready? They look like this. the Nova terrain, I enjoy, I appreciate the fact that Nova really built up the standardized terrain rules and the idea of standardized terrain in 40K. But holy crap, was it not enough terrain? Oh boy. It was so rough playing Tyranids on those maps, man. Ed Veldor, Tactical Tortoise, Patreon. Okay, I got you, boy. Yeah. Patreon.com/Tactical Tortoise. Hit me up. We got a bunch of people on there, and you get all sorts of cool benefits.
These guys are going to put their shots into them. So 15 shots.
Innis, definitely.
No rerolls.
Nick Rose, I was at the bottom tables. That's not true. Get out of here, Nick. I played on the GW stream. They took only mid tables. I went almost exactly 1-1 at Nova. In fairness, I was like 3 weeks into the game, but I think I won, lost one. Oh, I lost my last game of day one, unfortunately, to an insane weird dice thing. But I went 5-4, whatever. Nick Rose, the magic boxes are bad. The magic boxes at Elva and Nova. Nova doesn't use magic boxes.
Does not matter.
But I agree, magic boxes are silly. I like them I like them in physical games because a lot of times the store doesn't have enough actual line of sight blocking terrain to play effectively. I don't like them in TTS. You don't need them. You can just build buildings that are good, that are better.
Winning on fours.
Nick Rose, yeah, it was my first big tournament. I had never. It was my first tournament bigger than an RTT, and I think I had only played in one RTT before that, maybe two.
So 5 shots.
And whatever, I boots an Eldari Flyer player turn one, so who cares?
3 zone. 2 saves on the 3 up.
I like this hangout, guys. People in the chat as we're watching this Space Marine army slowly disintegrate, which is very sad. I like that we're having a little convo.
2 saves, AP2. Kills 1.
I am interested to talk to the players after the game. I'm interested to talk to Perrin about his deployment. He mentioned that he misplaced Ragnar and that lost him a bunch of efficacy in that first fight phase. And I would like to talk to him about that. I think he's probably got some interesting insights about how this game went.
I don't believe any of these guys can see red, right? Through the crack.
No idea. Who?
2 guys can see red. Or 1 guy. This guy can.
Yeah, you tell me, man.
Alright, 1 guy into.
Yellow Al Dixon, it's the first Patreon you ever signed up for. I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate the support. Helps keep me going. It is a kind of an interesting time in my life anyway, and I think in a lot of people's lives. And I think all the support we can give each other is really important. So I appreciate it.
2-1. 6-1. 6 on the untouched 1 or 2 damage 1. Yeah.
Ed Velder, yeah, I think I think once you go second into the Raptors, you sort of know that something like this could happen. And it seemed like he just deployed on the line and said, like, bring it on, boy. He knew the power. I don't think either of these players are, have any delusions about how much damage the list can put out. He was just hoping it wouldn't do enough.
Can't believe I'm about to do this. Moves 4 inches. It's not going anywhere. 7-inch charge. And within 6. -2 +1, so it'd be Thunderfire Cannon, red.
Sure.
Eight shots, hitting on 2s.
Pro tip, Ennis, just use some 2D terrain. You don't need card
2
stock
armor saves.
buildings
Sorry,
and
2
stuff.
4-ups.
You need like a plastic bag full of neoprene.
Okay. Loving it.
All right. Well, that was fun. Cool. Charge phase.
Sure.
Because he doesn't have a pistol. These guys are gonna charge into the cursor. So I have a 7-inch charge. Storm Ultras.
No, go for it.
Or I don't get it. I need
Lyle Dixon asking, what is your favorite list that I've seen so far?
budget.
Man, I think it's Wolf on Meeboos, guys. I think he's. It seems like he has the he's the fan favorite right now, and his finals game against Tomb King garnered him a lot of fans.
Captain's gonna declare charge on everything in this back corner.
And
Sure.
I believe
the people in the chat when he was playing the other day were super ecstatic. I think his list is cool. He's a cool dude, and it's one of the most brutal lists I think I've seen on the table in a long time. Ethan, he won his pod. He won pod. That was pod 3.
okay. So you're
He won his pod anyway. He 4-0'd it,
It's on the other side.
and like not even close.
Right there.
He 4-0'd it going like 40, 39, 42, 42 or something insanity. It was like craziness. Let me think back. I think Brad Weir's is probably the number one coolest one I've seen. His Eldari list, and you can see his game against Nick.
White and
That was pod 4 semis. Go ahead and watch that game. That list is super cool, and it has some optimization to go through, but it is certainly the most unique Eldari list I've ever seen. Possibly like the most unique list I've seen in the entire series. And it wasn't jank. I mean, it was kind of jank, but it wasn't bad jank. You know, it was. If you're a good player, you can make that list sing, and if you do, you're gonna crush some people, and you're gonna win some tournaments with it. Like, holy crap! What a sick list.
6 inches.
Yeah, I'm just north of Boston. I'm in Ipswich right now. At Veldor, where are you out of?
The intercessors are going to declare charge on pretty much this whole crew,
Sure.
including red.
Sure. I don't check out.
Like 25% chat is in Greater Boston. Yeah, that's sick, dudes.
Charge distance.
Oh, Luke McCarthy, New Jersey, Somerville, New Jersey. That's sad. You got me my hopes up. I was so excited. I was like, oh, I get to see these people at the tournament. When's GT start? I'm sure we'll see you guys. I just missed freaking Mayhem. Not Mayhem. What the
5.
Mythico Triumph GT. I almost went. I was about 2 minutes from buying a ticket, and I was like, I should wait for quarantine. But I almost went to Triumph GT back in February.
Can he get there?
I think so. Looks like you're on top of my base. It's fine.
But I don't think they get.
And Valdor also in Somerville. Whew. Look at us go.
So
You might be able to do it here. No.
Nick, I think my days of going to Battlegrounds are over. I'm just going to play on TTS forever now. I'm in love. I don't have to pack my models up, and I don't have to drive down Route 1 and get stuck in traffic and get stuck. Luke McCarthy, yeah, Mythico seems really cool. I want to make it down for one of their big events, for sure. But I'm on the Facebook group. I've never been there, but it's just like everything I see that store does, and the community seems great. Everything the store does looks awesome. It just seems like they know what they're doing, you know. And gaming stores like that are kind of few and far between, unfortunately. But But Battlegrounds that Nick was talking about is up in our area, and they're a chain of stores, which is interesting. You don't really see a chain of game stores that often, and they kill it also.
You're not based on the. I'm based in White Squad.
Ethan, no, I'm going to RTTs 100%. I'm at RTTs every week for sure. Once they start back up, definitely. But I don't know if I'm going to go for practice games anymore. I used to do two practice games a night, but I can get way more than that on TTS.
Alrighty.
I don't think anyone here is in range. So... Cool.
Are you spending to interrupt?
TTS is great, but you don't get to see the light in someone's eyes die when you pull a wrap. I pulled a wrap with a Grey Knight Paladin squad on a Fire Warrior Breacher team, and my poor opponent. Yeah, that's not. It was his engineer team too. It's his engineer breachers. No, they charged the engineers and killed them and pulled a wrap on their Fireblade. That's what happened, and that was probably the best like sort of crestfallen expression I've seen in 40k so far.
So these are hitting on 3s.
As soon as 10 paladins are like engaging your entire army and wrapped, like the game's over. You're gonna die. Luke McCarthy, Mythicos is branching into a chain. That's sick, dude.
So 3 6-ups and then 5 regulars.
Nick, the only practice games you would play is me or Pamps. Aw,
So that is...
you flatter me so much.
Yeah, they did.
Don't put me on the level of Pamps though. That guy beats the crap out of me every time I play him.
Wait, hold on. It's the Thunderhammers kill 4, and then 1 wound on the last guy.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, so 1 guy.
I have to say, I think the salt on TTS is better. Like, people feel free, like, because it's a video game, people feel free to, like, sort of let loose the salt a little bit more. And you get that sometimes. That happens occasionally.
Okay. And this guy right here.
Chat, you're great. You guys are great. so much fun.
Are you spending 2 to interrupt?
I probably should, because what the fuck? So the question is, can my Thunderfire cannons kill one of you? Hits on a 6-up? Probably not. So
We're considering an interrupt with a Thunderfire cannon to kill a Space Marine captain right now.
What the fuck? How is it that my tank is strength 7?
I don't know.
All right. Let's see.
I think we've decided not to try to kill the captain with the Tech Marine or with the Thunderfire cannon.
Try and kill your wolf.
Pamps is in. I'm in an RTT with Pamps, a Quarantine Hammer RTT.
Got
I
nothing
believe
else
Pamps
to
is in.
do. I guess I could just fight on.
But he hasn't been in pods. Nick, you gotta get Pamps in the pods, dude.
3 to 1.
He's gonna lose out on his invitational invite he could get.
Get to it. Should have.
All right, good night.
Look at
Good
that,
night, Nick.
just
But
one.
before you go, text
Yeah.
Pamps, tell him to get into some pods.
Take it.
Take 2 damage, brother.
Alright. The
Pamps is too cool for stream chat. He just lurks. At Valdor, we saw them
fully
kill,
appreciate
Chaplain.
purchaser and,
in
Oh, yeah,
the
it's all
Pod 2
good.
semifinals.
Good.
3 to
I think it shot like 2 wounds off of him on the charge and then killed him in melee.
your chaplain. So take 2.
How much damage?
It's just 2. It's just same weapon.
Oh, this is. Oh, I thought you were just saying some
No,
insurance.
no, no. Then
Nick, you
Captain's
got
a
40
20.
points in that RTT. In the Quarantine Hammer? In your first round? My first round. I'm playing my first round at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm going to stream it, by the way. Everybody, jump on over to twitch.tv/AOWPI. I'm going to be streaming my Quarantine Hammer games over there. I'm playing against Eldar Gunline. Eldar Mech Gunline turn round 1. I have no freaking idea how I'm going to do. I think I just have to go first and kill out Regine Steelers, but it sucks because everything freaking flies.
Red will be on the top one closest to your.
Ethan, I think they did kill more than one chaplain. There was also a unit of scouts involved, and I forget what they did, but it was like insanity.
Yep, this is why you should only use
Luke McCarthy, I hear if you smack talk gas 3 times in a row, Pamphret appears. It's like behind you, like Bloody Mary.
the middle one's dead.
4.
So yeah, here go the Thunderfires. Looks like almost all the intercessors are dead, and we're just down to 10 wounds worth of impulsors.
Sure. Are you engaging
just want to.
Yeah, poor Gaz, man. His rules were so cool. Like, he's just too expensive, right? Like,
Centurion Sergeant.
I wish that guy was better.
Was not charged into, so he will put 2 attacks into each. He'll put 2 attacks into the intercessor, 2 attacks to the wolf priest. Red into the priest, blue into the blue squad. Rerolling. And 2s to wound. So the sergeant's dead because it's just AP 4. And then 4 ups.
And the other guy is dead too.
Yeah.
Innes, I don't know how people get wraps on the stupid flyered vehicles,
no,
dude.
Bro. I got 2 Thunderfire cans.
They're so freaking big.
Fair enough.
And they're so far away from you because they have like 48-inch range guns. Like, you can't, you don't exactly have the opportunity to get all the way up in there.
That's what it says on my mouse.
No, it's 2. You 2.
But if I can drop it to 1 wound and then wrap it, I will try just for you, Innes.
Oh God.
And then I'll clip it on Twitch and I'll share it around.
I have 3 attacks.
I hope my opponent doesn't put them on the tall flying stand so that they're actually unchargeable. That would be annoying.
It's not like it's going to take more than 30 minutes. It's 3 hits.
That's 3 hits.
Just keep good. Yeah. I mean, there's also support weapons platforms in that list, like vibra cannons.
Okay.
Which I think I can wrap. I can wrap those easy.
My red guy lost 2, so he's okay, and my white guy lost 4. He's okay. Oh no, he's leadership.
But I think if I go second, I think I just get blasted off the table. It's so hard. I lose all the Hive Guard, unfortunately, like top immediately. The Exocrines can probably survive for a little bit. And then I think it's all over. I forget if I'm playing the Maliceptor version of my list.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kills.
Luke McCarthy, just bring the snap cap. Yeah, dude.
Full recon.
We should see some White Scars. Subcoms come back in.
I mean, you're gonna just like
to these Astartes soup lists. Oh, that'd be so sick.
Now I get to do some crazy shit with these incursors, baby.
You wouldn't do that. That'd be mean.
I'm doing it.
They're supposed to be a straight line for the record.
Yeah, all good. I will not walk through your space.
All right, so it looks like we have 1 intercessor left on 1 wound. Like we said, 10 wounds of impulsors left, as well as 2 thunderfires, all of which are engaged, and some tech marines. So I mean, tech marines probably.
Oh yeah.
We see some shuffling over here. We see the captain get shot to death. Maybe this intercessor blasts somebody hit to death with his thunderhammer.
You're here. I thought you were trying to get just over.
No.
Innes, the way you do it is a weird star pattern and a ring basing them. It's awkward, but it works for all vehicles on bottom bracket. But you have to get around them, right?
No,
you can't. Like, how do you get to? You get enough distance to get all the way around them. Usually, it's all I can do to just get to them the first time.
We about to do a thunderhammer off, bro?
Oh baby. I don't really want to charge.
Perrin has Gangbusters, Butcher's Bill, Recon as his secondaries. So if he's just looking to maximize points,
dead.
He has to kill 2 things this turn. So he kills the captain,
6.
and he bangs this chaplain to death,
3.
maybe?
I don't know if you can get out of it.
Hell no, I'm not running away.
Okay. I didn't know if you just wanted to shoot it to death.
No way. He has a sweet ass. Let's see, there's 6 inches there. Okay. And just to make sure everything's within 6. Oh, I have plasma guns and shit. That's their move. He wants to go here. Stay within 3 inches of this gun. So that doesn't die. This guy.
It feels like if the... Did you drop 3 night spinners to 1 wound?
I don't have... This is the wrong...
Why aren't you just killing them? I'm so confused. I've definitely wrapped... I mean, I've wrapped vehicles into a corner, but I haven't wrapped flyers into a corner, especially flyers with 16-inch move. It seems like if they're all huddled up in a corner, they'll just move over you. They don't have to be that.
Yep.
You have to like make a 12-inch cloud behind them, which seems almost impossible.
I see what you're doing.
Coming for kills, I guess. Why not?
I played against one of the last RTTs I played before the quarantine hit. I played Grey Knights, and I played into AdMech, and the AdMech was playing Styges, and used his pre-games to try to block off all of my deep strikes for my strike squads to kill them.
They have an
And
assault 1 plasma.
he
But they
missed
have heavy flamer too,
like
right?
2
It's just a regular
6-inch gaps in the line.
He has a plasma.
And then obviously I could bring one in with the close
yep.
range teleport, or dynamic entry, but I didn't need to.
Bolt gun, I believe.
And I brought in all the strikes and killed his entire army.
a
He was like
45-point model.
he was so close.
Deserves to be OP as shit.
Wow.
Pe-
You could,
people
you
like,
could look at the Centurion. It's only 35 points now. There you go. So I will.
He also has 2 servo arms.
I know he's. What? Where are you going? Why are you?
What up, brother?
Why are you doing that?
Just because I'm a crazy.
All right, Ennis, I'm gonna just for you. I'm gonna try to ramp an Eldar grav tank tomorrow. I'm going for it. That'll be the specialist achievement.
My intercessor pack leader.
If I don't end up going first and just killing them all with the execrants,
So
which totally will happen. I should look. Let me see. I have my iPad here. I can look at the actual list that I submitted. It had to be Apostle or Maverick 25 in this game is actually running a tournament, and unfortunately my phone was not working, and I couldn't upload my own list, and he had to do it for me, and I don't remember what I did, what I submitted.
Nope. It's just that. Okay. No biggie. So we'll start with this Tech Marine here.
Shooting the chaplain.
Now, first, yeah, I'll shoot the chaplain, and I'm gonna fucking overcharge because I'm a wild guy.
But you re-roll.
And he is within 6 question mark? No. So just the plasma.
Isn't flamer 8?
If it's 8, then I'm gonna shoot that for sure. Here's my flamer number of shots. 2 flamer shots. So my plasma hit.
All right, let me look at my list here. I am playing Triple Gene Stealers, double Execrins, and a freaking Maliceptor, y'all.
Ones, baby.
Whoopsies. Oh, no. Oh, dear.
Golden.
Loves his life. The other guy's gonna do the same thing. Flamer. 3 shots.
Maliceptor did not perform in my game today, but I'm going to try to grind him out in an enormous, like, 60% RTT. We'll see how it goes.
Hit 6.
Yep.
Wounds with the 6.
Fame 3. Good.
Loves it.
Innis,
Alright.
Shuma is in your pod.
Captain will fire his master bolt gun into that.
So you might not have a choice, Innis, about keeping a Stompa off the same half of the tournament as you. You got to get good, buddy. You got to win all your games in this pod, dude. It's all on the line for pod 8 now. Should have won your game against John Damaris.
All right. Crack grenade from my intercessor pack leader into the aggressors. He misses. And then my impulsor. What's it gonna shoot?
Intercessors. I got 1 wounded here.
Let's see.
I don't know if that matters in your calculus or actually
He's
it's
gonna
guitar.
shoot. He's gonna shoot this blue Imperial Guard squad with 4 shots.
This one?
Oh no, he's not.
Innis, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but T5S2 pods are 4-round tournaments. So I'm very sorry.
He is full, so he's hitting on 3.
Innis is about to quit.
Or is it aggressive?
He's about to quit T5S2. He's like, I'm out, buddy.
And this little guy here on 1.
What do you mean they're all RTTs? What do you mean?
Yep, hit on 5s.
Maybe something cool happens.
I bet it does actually. I bet you kill like 4.
4 at -1.
That's why I said I think you kill.
Ethan, you can 3-1. I believe in you.
Yeah.
Get another 42 out of that Stompa list.
Number, sir.
Wait, are you playing the Stompa on pod 8? No, that's pod 4, right?
All right. Let's see. I don't think I have any more shooting, so I'll declare charges. This tech wing's gonna go into your bro here.
Actually. Yeah. Okay.
Goes.
Looks like the Thunderfire stayed in melee with the captain, which is I don't love.
Crack grenade.
And one of the Tech Marines ran away, so its Thunderfire died. Oh no, he killed the Thunderfire.
Yeah, good.
My
Can we see the Tech Marine kill the Chaplain? I hope so. Get that Butcher's Bill point.
what was dice distance?
Easy. Cash money.
Innis, you just have to You just have to accept that that Stompas are actually legit, and
Then the tech brain.
it's not that. Oh, Stompas in pod 3. Oh, I'm sorry.
What you'll get.
And it went 2-2.
Like
Within
I think you could have won your first game too.
3 of his.
We streamed it.
So
And we talked.
let's
We've
just see
talked
if I
about
can
it.
kill
You played
you.
against the Haywire bikes and it sucked, but I think you gave up 2
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, for sure. My impulsor going first.
All right, just roll it because you can't fail. You're just going to the aggressors or this.
Yeah, just the aggressors.
Um,
Roll the dice. Pew.
10, 12.
That's one intercessor is going to charge into 2
Oh, I have to
aggressors.
charge on
I believe in you, buddy.
shit too.
You've got 1 wound left. You'll be fine.
Yeah, let's just delete this shit quick. Hold on.
Don't worry.
Okay, so 12 and then another 24.
Thank goodness these guys don't have tactical doctrine right now, and that they are silly, soupy boys.
Okay, so these are hit on 6s. Jesus Christ.
I think Stompers would be good if they just got like a 30% points reduction.
Well, I draw blood.
Their stats are okay. It's not like the model doesn't do anything. It does 1 billion damage.
All right, it's gonna just tag you right here.
Yep.
And then the intercessor.
All right, Innes. Thanks for hanging out with us.
That's good.
Oh, we charged the impulsor, and that makes a lot more sense. Thanks for hanging out in the chat, Innes. It was good.
Green squad.
If you have time in
All right.
10 hours, I'll be playing my game. So if you once you wake up, maybe
Yeah, just go. It's fine.
maybe you'll be able to watch me wrap some Eldar, some Eldar grab tanks somehow.
And then I'm gonna throw 2 frag grenades from the sergeants. Or no, not the sergeants. So they can be out. All right, so frag grenades. 6.
New 9th edition meta Stompas versus Monoliths. I'm in. That game sounds sick. At the very least, every game looks exciting.
So 2 saves.
What is the position of the new cool Catan model with the wings? Is that a new meta breaker? Lyle Dixon, yeah, damn man, thanks for tuning in. Remember, it's not gonna be live on YouTube. It's just gonna be over at twitch.tv/AOWPI.
From you here.
We're trying to stream off that channel every day. Unfortunately, John
Only guy's gonna be within an inch of you.
wasn't able to come on today to commentate my game from Pod 7, but we're gonna try to be streaming every day on
Don't do
AOWPI.
And then
Starting probably next week, but I have this game and I'm going to stream all my Quarantine Hammer games
charges, question mark?
um,
No.
on there,
these are
so
those
it'll be good.
incursions. I have
Yeah, we'll have tons of content.
3 attacks.
Punch. 6 is
Regular-
off.
No, I'm just using my close combat weapons.
Gonna try to get a wrap on these
Fives.
green guardsmen. Looks like 2 die. Oh my god, does that block the wrap?
Cool.
Ugh.
So then the closest target to this guy.
Lame.
Is this
Oh,
guy.
she got. Yeah, that's alright. I'll just come over this way. Doesn't really matter. Cool. And then.
I wonder if there was a position where he could have threatened the wrap on 3 models.
It
Would have been tough though, I guess. Luke McCarthy willed every tortoises on AOWPI. No, but we have an adorable mascot for AOWPI. Just you freaking watch. Just you wait. He is the sickest.
There it is.
And then.
Oh my god. Shit.
That's alright. No worry. He had 8 wounds left.
Looks like
You had
the impulsors are spontaneously spawning.
Okay. And
Oh, you have to delete it. Sorry. Or switch the side, yeah. Or
What
not.
the fuck?
Or just
Weird
switch the side.
TTS stuff. All right.
and then of course.
I definitely have killed Catan with eliminators before.
Gloriously
That's
kill
true.
you. One hit.
I usually kill them in melee though,
range.
so I can get those. There's delicious robot brains out of them and get
So I'm gonna
CP.
roll a d6 on a 4 or more. It's this one was from the guy who has a reroll. So he gets a reroll.
And 5 to wound.
Alright. It doesn't matter what order we do all this shit in, because
Nope.
Actually, technically, the gunners you would have attacked before one of them. But
It's fine.
so the Tech Marine, he has 4 attacks, and he can use his cool thing, but he can only make 1 attack with each servo arm. So 2 servo arms and 2 regular. So that's
Yeah, just imagine if they were
What is
fully
actually
powered Catan
times
instead of
2
just a shard. They could have as
Times
powerful
2 minus
a
6.
save as
yeah,
3
it's 2 servo
plus.
arms and
2 reg-
let's see, and 2
Never-
close combat weapons. So he's gonna be the red ones are gonna be the servo arms, and the blue ones will be the close combat weapons.
Alright.
I'll hit, and we are wounding with 2 servo arms and 1 regular.
3 up.
Oh, we got the captain dead.
Sir.
Get out of here, captain.
And then I'll just do
He gets
these
servoed to
2
death.
Tech Marines together.
See if we can kill the chaplain.
Turn too late for the killing.
Innes, you killed one with venom thropes?
Uh,
You
reroll
got
ones.
amongst the menu.
I'll hit.
That is the most glorious way for anything to die in this
Reroll
game.
ones. All right, all those.
3 up, baby.
Jeez.
Oh, wait.
Get out of here,
1
chappie.
damage. That's fucking hilarious. And then
Oh
my
no,
captain
those were just
is
raw attacks. Where were his power, his servo arms? Servo arm would have killed him.
Should be 6 attacks. You charge.
Oh yeah, right. Sir. Ones.
And 4s. Huh.
5.
3 up.
4.
Alright, well, command point.
Fuck yeah, why not?
Sorry, what's the Imperial Fist Captain rerolling the ones from?
I hit.
I have hit up.
I think that's only reroll ones with ranged attacks.
No, it's wounds.
Okay.
It's the same as the Lieutenant Aura.
So, my chaplain's still alive.
Huh, there you go, man. Cool. So I guess that's it. I do not hold
I'm
one.
not 100% sure that
and
that's
I
correct, but we'll take a
think
look at the.
Boom.
I should
And I
hold.
got recon. Cool. Have at it, brother. I just
Cool.
killed. No, I got 2 for Butch. Oh no, because I couldn't get Butcher's build off the aggressors, right?
Oh, I'm in the
You
warrior
killed 2.
section.
Oh,
God
'cause
damn.
yeah.
Space Marine
you
supplements
should
are
know.
so long. Fuck,
No,
Yeah,
I
where's
already
the
started counting gangbusters on
Hypnoth?
like a turn ago.
I do leadership over here. I'm leadership 6. I lost 4.
So he's right, actually. It's only ranged attacks for.
Yeah, how dare you question me?
Cool. So I lost. I'm leadership 6. So
Hey, at least I double checked.
2 more.
Yeah, I was just at the entry on my thing too. I just got there.
Well, this is a whole
How
bunch of-
dare we get the rule wrong?
All right, so
Just
that means I'm gonna give myself
All right.
the
Literally, the only reason I know that is because I used to play Imperial Fists.
reroll hit. Does go off.
Sweet.
The,
Micah, you got the Malanthrope bonus? Frickin' achievement unlocked, buddy. I'm so proud of you.
stay put.
That's so sick.
Centurion is just gonna walk over.
Yeah, Alexander Willis, the issue is that I have Hypnoth only rerolls ones in range for ranged attacks. He doesn't reroll ones in melee. Ethan Wellner, you take that back. Venom Thropes look beautiful.
The they will go there.
Oh, did you make morale on these middle dudes here?
No, I did not. Lost 4. Leadership 7. Good.
Nice.
I thought for the longest time that the Malanthrope, Malanthrope's not violent, Shuma. He doesn't do anything. He's even bad at fighting. I thought that the Malanthrope benefit was just +1 to hit for a while, because I would never get it off. There's no ever way in hell.
Those intercessors will advance.
It's so difficult. That poor boy. If he gets anywhere near melee, he just gets punched in the face. But Shuma, what's better than one StarCraft Overlord with a crappy melee attack? A whole unit of StarCraft Overlords with crappy melee attacks. That in fact have slightly better melee attacks, even.
All right.
Did Perrin probably did not hold objective 4 because of the other intercessors. Oh, that's gross. He just killed
I believe that is
and got his
6 inches to rotate.
butchers. Oh, he didn't because the chaplain didn't die.
Cool.
Ugh.
This is practice I need to do. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
.5, so 5 inches.
Ethan, Venom Thropes are 100% an entire unit of hot air balloons. You take that back, sir. Unfortunately, that turn was even kind of sad for Perrin here. He didn't score his hold. He didn't score his butchers because the chaplain somehow survived. This is sort of the point of the game where you just like hope all of your opponent's rolls are ones for the rest of the game, and unfortunately, that's not really how dice work. And you could have glorious turns where cool things happen and you get to do stuff, but unfortunately, sometimes when you're down to only a handful of models, the variance of 40k comes to bite you.
Shooting phase or psychic phase.
Innis,
Psychic Maelstrom.
I 100% think that Malanthropes are better than that Venom Thropes are better than Malanthropes.
Killed by the psychic maelstrom.
I actually don't even get hit by like if I go to events that don't I can't play Forge Roll at. It's not even a big deal because I just don't ever play Malanthropes.
Second psychic maelstrom to kill an impulsor.
Fair.
Tabs on that.
The tank commander is going to order himself to reroll 1s and reroll 1s.
Yeah. I mean, that point hasn't ended. I'm just saying it's continuing to go. We're still there.
And heavy bolter.
Yeah, everything in them. I'm just going to reroll those. Okay. Overcharging, of course. Reroll 1s. Winning on 3s. That many involves, sir.
Yes, sir. Oh.
6 damage, 8 damage.
Ah, he's dead. Does he blow? Let's roll here. No.
So there goes the last repulsor. We're down to the characters now. Plus this intercessor. This glorious intercessor hiding the entire army. Okay, and then we just pick him up.
Your thing in tactical.
I don't have the doctrines.
Oh shit!
You want me to roll it?
No, I don't care.
Okay.
Mike, unlock the achievement, retire the Malanthrop. You're like me. Anytime I play any like first person shooter, I'm like, all right, well, I upgraded all my guns, so like slowly just put them back in the case. Like, I'll just play my my submachine gun or whatever. We did it. He's out of here.
Intercessor's gonna declare a charge.
Next up, you gotta get what's the Dimacron's special, like a character killer rule?
Okay.
8 inches.
Damn, I can't even find it. It's stupid thing is so weird.
So I have to be outside of an inch of the.
So the next thing is to save any wounds off the Dimacron's digestive spine. That's the question of the day, whether you can do that.
The
I thought he had a rule against characters, but I was wrong.
12 except
I think that's just explained in its lore, and it has absolutely no mechanical distinction for that.
Yeah, he did it. That's my charges. We'll start with the intercessors. Have
Cool.
kind of. Did you want a hero cleaner being I'm assuming?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Yes,
I-
sorry.
I don't know if I would take venom throats to fight things,
And,
right? Like
this
I would
guy-
never do that.
Should
I don't think you ever take more than. Maybe you take 4 in case one dies, right? So you can still protect characters. But man, do you not want to
Yeah,
spend
no,
points
no,
on those guys?
no, no.
And then this guy goes here. This guy goes here.
Honestly, Innis, a lot of times I would much rather the Thunderfires spend an entire turn trying to kill
Yeah, I'm Queech.
the Venom
have,
Thropes than
5
actually shoot
attacks
my
into the-
stupid
sorry.
Machine Stealers.
4 Thunderhammers into the Tech Marine.
That happens a lot with Imperial Guard. Like either they don't kill any of my army, or they spend 1 to 2 entire turns trying to kill
Thunderhammer
3
here
Venom
first.
Thropes.
Rerolling because of the chaplain. 3's wound.
So if they want to
5
shoot my
ups.
stupid Venom Thropes instead of Tremor Shelling my army, go for it, dude.
Then you have.
They maybe kill 1
9
each,
attacks
and then
into
there's
the
1 guy left to
Tech Marine.
still protect the rest of my Gene
That
Stealers.
was not originally based kind of thing.
Sure.
Rerolling. 4s. Hits. 2 saves on 2 up.
One.
The Centurion's gonna put 3 attacks into the Tech Marine and 2 into the
Yeah, that's rough.
4 attacks into the Tech Marine.
It's annoying. Like the Imperial Guard artillery lists are annoying when they like actually remember to take their ignore cover relic. Sometimes they're just like, oh, I just took 2 wyverns and I didn't take the specialist attachment, so I can't
3
ignore
into
cover. And your
Neptune
Steelers
and
don't die half the time,
That's right.
and then Catalyst saves them another 30%. And like you lose 2 Gene Steelers every time one shoots. But then they ignore cover and everyone's dead.
So 1 save on the captain and then 5 ups on the or 6s. So Tech Marine's dead.
Good.
And Cap.
The downside is that we're seeing like Basilisks are coming back in, and Basilisks just absolutely kill those guys super easy.
Oh no,
Chaplain's-
sorry, that was not the one that was bound in this one. Sorry. That was the unbound one.
And then the chaplain is going to put all those attacks into the captain.
Cool. Yeah.
4 attacks. I'll hit.
Yeah, I
Next
think
one.
Just 3, right? Because he didn't throw up intervene.
Oh, he didn't charge shit. I gotta reroll it. Ball hit.
I think if I were to go back to the drawing board and tech into Space Marines, I'd take
So on your
I'd take the Cult of the Forehand Emperor detach, so you could vect the Tremor.
Down to
and on to you, sir.
sick, brah. I would have gone under the. This is for turn 3, so I would have gone Assault Doctrine.
Yep.
So I'm punching. Let's do. Gonna kill that fucking chaplain. My captain will go 5, 6 attacks into him.
Yep.
The last thing I do, I'll kill your characters. Make all their inborns. My captain's still around. I will not reroll my 1s to wound.
Ooh, you got seized on in that game too? Oh no.
Can I make it? 3 up.
Yeah, the 6 Thunderfire Imperial Fistless scares the shit out of me.
Success.
I mean, it's so binary though. Like I feel like if I go
He's
first, I
gonna go
absolutely
into
decimate it, and if it goes
fire
versus decimates me, it's very 50-50.
Assault Centurion.
Like even worse than this Raptors list.
These attacks.
I don't know if I'm gonna get 9 Ridge Runners in it. The Ridge Runners aren't even in good in that detachment
Yeah.
because they want to take Hive Cult, I think, right?
Yeah.
Usually,
And then.
or the custom
Fives.
cult.
So 1 2 up on the regular attack save, and what's the other one?
We're officially down to 3 models for the, or 2 models
Okay.
for the 3 models because we still have a Thunderfire cannon.
It's just 3. You made your other one. You rolled a 4.
So 1 wound.
Nice.
All right.
All right. And my Tech Marine gun, or my gun, 1 attack.
Correct, because I did not charge it.
Oh, it doesn't. Oh, yeah.
All right. Your turn.
Cool. All right, let's see. I should probably hold one. But I really want to kill that Centurion. It's just he's going to have to go hold one.
Go get him, Tech Marine.
Cool. And actually, I'll stay within 6 of my guy, whatever that is. And then I'll just go onto my charge phase, my fight phase, I mean. So
Yep.
I got
2,
1.
Oh, that's fair, Innes. Yeah, you can soup it up. Yeah, I'm so
attacks.
unused to Tyranids being able to do that.
So 3 are the red ones. are the
Because
big guns,
Tyranid,
big thing,
pure Tyranids can't soup.
And then 3s and 5. So just one of each.
Alexander Willis, was this match decided by the round
Six
of
up.
Bob being too far forward? I believe so. It sounds like Perrin maybe had a plan to deal with the aggression turn 1 and maybe misplayed it or something. I'm interested to talk to the players after the
They're
game.
based here, so
Looks like we'll probably get a 41 for
3
Maverick,
Thunderhammer,
the 2 and 11 or 12.
3 Thunderhammers and 2 guys, and yeah.
Seems good.
So this is into the gun itself. These miss, and then 2s or 3s and 5s.
When I was first working on Breach Storm, we originally designed it to be a best of 3 game, and unfortunately, it ended up
And then fixed
just being a
attacks
little
with
bit too
peppers.
long. We got it under an hour playtime,
Or
but we
sorry,
wanted it under 40
3
minutes,
saves.
so you could play 3 games in 2 hours and 15 or so. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit too long for that. You could almost do it with Marvel Crisis
So these
Protocol,
guys are just gonna
but
fall out.
I don't think you need to as much.
Seems good.
Actually,
Scoring. I got a kill and a hold. Thank you very much. Max up. Big gangbusters. I did not get a butcher's bill.
the intention is to be within 3, but outside of
Yeah, yeah. You just table me this turn. It's all good. You're gonna kill those 2 characters with all your machine guns and demolisher tanks and all that shit. Should not even be.
Alright.
So you can 5-point yourself the rest of the way down.
Yeah, it looks like we're wrapping it up here.
13 points. Thank you very much.
that was Butcher Bill though.
No, I don't think I got.
Oh, Gangbusters, right?
Yeah.
Jeepers.
1 point off maximum. Damn, son. 2. No, 1. Slacking, Dan.
Yeah.
Well, so like we talked about your list, and we basically decided like that you needed to go.
I needed to go first.
Well, I mean, my biggest mistake was just not realizing your whole army advanced and charged. So it was kind of like I wasn't expecting the Centurions to be on my face, and then they were. And then Ragnar also. I should have put Murderfang behind Ragnar and given myself a little more room to maneuver with my heroic interventions, because if it was just the aggressors in your Smash Captain, I would have.
Oh, yeah, it looks like a misplay on Perrin's part here. He didn't know that, or he forgot that Raven Guard have the Warlord trait to get advance and charge.
Because I need to kill those aggressors on turn 1.
So it looks like, I mean,
on turn 2.
this is a brutal game, but I think
Well,
largely a misplay.
Congrats, thank you for the game.
Yeah, dude.
I'm gonna go decompress and not freak out.
Yeah, don't freak out, dude. It was fun.
It was a great game, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
I know it didn't. Yeah.
You're gonna report it, right? I assume.
Yeah. I'm assuming Trevi's here too.
Yeah,
So-
I can put it in. Yeah, Jeff, if you have a second to talk about the game, and Dan, if you want to stay around and chat,
Yeah.
that works too. But assuming that the Centurions can't advance and charge, is the plan with your deployment just basically to soak the first wave on the impulsors and then sort of fight out of it from there?
Yeah. So the plan. I mean, my plan was I didn't think the Centurions would be here, but that's fine. They were. It's like that, and then when he did, I was like, oh, this whole army, because I just thought it was the one character could advance and charge. So.
Yeah, it's an aura. Yeah.
But if not, the aggressors can't get near my characters, because if they do, then they die before they fight, and then
Right.
because of
They get armored and then they
armor
get punched.
rust
Yeah.
and exactly.
They get
So, I mean,
touched by
that
the
was
wild.
that was a big thing. So And then the Smash Captain was in my face, the Intercessors were in my face, so I was assuming that it would just be the Chaplain and the aggressors, and I was fine with that because the Chaplain doesn't do anything, and to my characters at least. And then Ragnar or Murderfang or
Pretty much anybody would murder.
yeah, because it was Murderfang who actually wanted him to punch the aggressors because he does 3 flat damage.
Yeah,
he was like
kill
he
that
just
whole
goes
unit.
in and punch the ball. Yeah, so that was what my plan was. Like, he kills some impulsors. I heroically intervene with Murderfang and the Armor of Rust. That's why they're up front, and then they kill the aggressors. And then on my turn 1, I kind of just take the middle of the board and start wrapping shit. But that's not how it worked out.
So if you were to play the matchup again, how would you change your
I would
deployment
have
here?
probably, knowing that they're
just go first.
here, I would have deployed my whole castle in this area, like
To give him a
30
-4.
inches, 30 inches away. Just no, so the Centurions couldn't engage me immediately.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you just null deploy everything in the back.
Yeah, just like because he's gonna roll, 12 plus 10 is so 22 inches. I would probably be like 34 inches away or 30 something like that. So they were like right here.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have deployed on the hill right here because I have
Sure.
enough movement to get into the midboard. Like,
Yeah.
not a problem.
Yeah, and if he puts the front impulsor on the forest or like the
Yeah.
frontmost, it's a -4 to charge him.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big
it was
deal.
Just kind of like definitely a learning game for me. So I was like, I expected the Centurions to be deep struck, and they weren't. I'm like, I was measuring out, like, I was asking him out 24, and I was thinking like they're gonna shoot me with bolters, and I'm like, I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'll just put it all on the line and kill the aggressors when they come in, and then that's not how it worked out.
Yeah, it turns out those big drills aren't just for show. They're gonna come get you.
I mean,
they're gonna come drill you.
I'm very aware that they would kill me if they got into combat.
Yeah.
I mean, but I was hoping that they would not get into combat.
Right.
So all good. Cool, man. Thanks, Dan. Thanks,
Yeah.
Trevi, and have yourself a good night, guys.
Yeah,
You too.
have a good one. Thanks for jumping on the game, and
Thanks
Yeah.
for hosting, Trevi.
good luck, Apostle of Ruin, going into the final round of your pod.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
All right, everybody. There you go. There you have it. That's the final judgment. Unfortunately, Jeff unaware that that Raven Guard can advance and charge. Surprise! There you go. They can. Looks like people. So, bit of a learning game, bit of a quick game, but we were able to get a couple points back with for the Astartes player, but it was pretty considerable tabling on turn 3. Everybody in chat. What are we talking about right now? Jeez, we had a whole conversation while I was talking to the players. I can't wait for no more stacking neg modifiers. Blah blah blah. Not being able to stack moon modifiers is huge. Innes, cheers. Thanks for watching. Hope you get a good night's sleep. Hope you can tune in to watch me fail to wrap some Eldar grav tanks. That'll be sick. Mike, first thing I ask in the game is, can your faction advance and charge? And what is the language on your fight twice? Yeah, that's fair, man. Wahapedia, go look it up. Unfortunately, it looks like neither of the, or it looks like, I imagine, I missed the first setup of the game. I mentioned the players went over their pre-games. It didn't look like Dan noted it on his models, which is something that you should do. But if he explained it to his opponent before the game, and I think some of his stuff was on his list and he just changed 1 or 2 things. But it's more helpful for your opponent to know stuff like that if you note it on the model so they can sort of reference it. But also, yeah, just I know matchup awareness is also important too. And that's what Wahapedia is for. You can just Google all your opponent's shit and you find it. Samwar, did I want to cast semifinals and Youngbloods? No, I'm not casting Youngbloods right now. I may cast the final round, the top 2 in the final round. Or in round 3, but I'm not sure. It's The streaming schedule has been pretty packed lately, so I don't know if I have a chance to stream Youngbloods, unfortunately. Longship Loft, how can you wrap a grav tank? Apparently, Innis makes a circle around the grav tank and then it makes a star, so its corners can't leave the star. I guess that's the plan. But you have to drop it to its lowest profile so it only moves 8 inches. It sounds very difficult. But I guess that's the challenge. It's been extended, so I have to try to wrap a grav tank now. Ethan, it's hard to fully research an army using 3 factions with multiple sub-factions assets to like 200 stress. Yeah, but I mean, in fairness, only one of those sub-factions matters in this case, right? And only one ability on one of those sub-factions is the one in question. But also, sort of, especially when you're deployment, talk with your opponent about their threat ranges. It didn't sound like to me like Apostle was trying to obfuscate his abilities. I think he just told his opponent what he had and assumed that he knew the combo. So that's what's up. RGT 2005 Space Force players should know how dangerous getting too close is. Yeah, and I mean, most of the players in Pod 8, or a lot of the players in Pod 8, especially in the semifinals, are pretty well known, I think, and I think people sort of assume. I think this is something that does happen, and it has happened to me in the past in other games, is that, once you get proficient at a game, you just sort of assume that you know what's going on in any situation, and you start to ask less questions. That used to happen to me in War Machine as well. I wonder if there's a little bit of that going on here. If you're like, oh, it's fine, I know what's up. Those guys, move 8 and then they move 4. They move 4 and then they move like 10 and then they move 4 again and then they charge. But I think that sometimes you just sort of let it slips your mind and you don't think to ask. And especially, both these players are US based and it's early morning now, so I imagine it's late for them. So might just been a little bit whoopsies. Mike, I do the same thing. Yeah, I note everything on the title of the description: relics, warlord traits, symbioses for my Space Marines. Sam Moyer, wish me luck. Yeah, good luck, man. Good luck in the Youngbloods game. And I hope that you do well and have a good time. Youngbloods is mostly about having a good time and learning stuff, so do that for the most part. Cool, everybody. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out the stream right there. It is bedtime for me, and I have a game in the morning. So tune in, AOWPI, or twitch.tv/AOWPI, 10 Eastern Standard tomorrow is when I have the game scheduled for. I will be live there at that time, and we're trying to wrap some grav tanks. So hopefully see you all there. It'll be exciting. And if you haven't gone over and jumped on that Twitch page, go ahead and give it a follow, because we are going to be streaming the crap out of some TTS, dude. And we have so many cool things planned. It's going to be awesome. We have some of the most competitive 40K ready to be played on AOWPI, and we're also going to have in the near future, we're going to have some really cool alternate content, not just competitive stuff. We're gonna branch out a little bit on AOWPI, and we're going to start going a little deeper into 40K on TTS, and how you can trick out your models and your tables, and some of the cool alternate formats you can play on the system. So it's going to be sweet. Shuma, thanks for watching, and everybody else, thanks for watching, and that's it for me. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and I'll probably see you guys